Hello and welcome back to the Golden Fanfics. I hope you enjoyed today's very special video, What If Deku Was Spiderman? Made by Bastion Lights. And the story will be linked in the description like always. So leave a like, subscribe, and comment for another part. Now let's get into the fanfic. The Amazing Deku. Chapter 16. Alright everyone, get ready. Says Momo to her class of 18 other students. She and they sit in a waiting room together. Each of them is dressed in their UA gym uniform deep in mental preparation. Among them are the students who have been revealed before, as well as new faces, one of them being a male with hair split into two colors wide on the right, red on the left, and a scar over his left eye. That person narrows his eyes as he scans the rest of his class, healthily ignoring the blonde girl fawning over him. His observation comes to an end when Bakugo stands tall. Bakugo, not yet. Screw it. I ain't waiting any longer. He then storms out the door, causing a collection of sighs to erupt in response. Jiro seems to be the loudest of those of disapproval. He's like Kirito though as she voices her thoughts she glances over at Momo and flinches. Directed at the ash blonde problem child of their class is an intense look of content. Having followed Momo's attention for a long while she has never seen this expression on her before, not even Mineta and Kaminari with their perverted antics have gotten this rise out of her. What did Bakugo do? Eventually, the class of Wana makes their exit, entering out into the grassy stadium of UA High. Stretched across surrounding them from all sides is a humongous audience, civilians and pro heroes alike, all gathered together for one thing. Welcome to the UA Sports Festival. Outside of the stadium, Mount Lady comes across a takoyaki stand, shaking her thing like a chicken wing. Her target ends up doing the foolish. So sexy. Here's a free box. You're such a doll. She shouts in response before taking the free meal. Her partners Kamui and Death Arms watch with disgust as she scores free food. The wood-using upstart says, no shame at all. Taking her takoyaki, she proceeds to return to duty while taking a pick and stabbing it into one of those delicate balls. She then shoves it in her mouth as she rejoins her companions, oblivious to the laser stares darted into her skull. What? She asks, her mouth still full. Don't abuse your power. Hey, with great power comes great opportunity, is her response while walking. Looking about, the three notice the commotion of commuters who have come to witness the battles. Passing by a little girl he waves to, Kamui says, it's strange. What's with all the publicity? It's only the first years acting this year. It's Class 1A Death Arms answers, his face giving a disgruntled groan as he gives a watchful look around. Ever since they survived a villain attack the whole world's been looking at them. And that's why they called in heroes from all over the country. Asks Mount Lady as she chews a ball of takoyaki. Swallowing, she follows up with, last year was nowhere near this intense. Best they're worried about a repeat. A shame the woodsman crosses his branches across his chest with a huff. I was hoping to do some scouting, but now they're all gonna get the best picks ahead of us. What can you do? The big guy shrugs it off. I'd rather focus on getting rid of the scum on the streets, like Spiderman. The mention of the friendly neighborhood vigilante catches their attention, as the attention-grabbing titan who can't fire beams lowers her eyebrows, saying, you better not have a problem with my spider snack, before chewing another ball. He throws his arms to the side. Don't be fooled. He's just pretending to be hero material, so he can spy for villains. That's a little harsh, says Kamui, his tone showing offense. Don't you think it's a little convenient he can do as much as he can without the years of training we had to undergo from graduating from other schools? He must be in league with villains, a secret weapon sent to. You're definitely overthinking this, speaks the blonde heroine as she glares at him. I'd rather be chasing Spider-Man so I can sit on him. To capture him, right? No response, which is all the answer they need out of her. Death Arms turns to his botankinetic partner, asking him to try and correct her. To answer his larger, burlier, much more intimidating heroic friend, the upcoming upstart gives his response as honestly as he possibly could. She's a lost cause. Looking up at the screen, the trio of bodyguards take notice of the Jumbotron up above them. To their surprise, the screen shows the results of an event that took place during their patrol. All of Class 1A, Class 1B, that one girl from Class 1H and two guys from Class 1C managed to make it into the top 42. Wow. That Todoroki fellow made it to first place, says Mount Lady before stuffing her last takoyaki down her throat. And Endeavor's stock goes higher. Don't be like that. They continue to watch the Jumbotron, where the students take part in cavalry battle. Later. On the train, Izuku sits politely watching a video on his phone. He pats the items he's purchased. Alright, Momo, he says with a grin of pride. Back to action. Time's up. Shouts the voice of Present Mick, bringing an end to the chaos unfolding about. Let's get a look at the teams that have made it. The screen shows the first team to pass, Team Todoroki. Team leader Todoroki gives his familiar stare as his partners Momo, Kaminari, and Kirishima sigh relief at their success. The next one shows Team Bakugo. The leader is bent by the knees, resting his arms on them. But unlike Ishido, who is groaning, Tokoyami, who sulks, and Jiru, who feels and looks embarrassed, he has his eyes on the man with two colors in his hair. The third team on the list is Team Shinso, which consists of one Hitachi Shinso, for some reason Aoyama, and two others both from Class 1B, one a beautiful and frail girl with vines for hair, and the other a pudgy-looking person. The last team appears on the screen, Team Hatsum. The leader consists of Attention Hogmei, a guy with spiked features for eyebrows, a boy with a braided ponytail, and someone very hairy all over. But the herd finally thinned out just enough. The next step begins. After lunch. Off near the edge of the stadium at an exit, Mei looks around using her quirk. Not seeing him, she worries a bit. "Where are you, Midoriya?" "Boo." She yelps out suddenly, quickly turning upward at the boy up above on the ceiling. He drops down, making a landing like he's known for as his vigilante counterpart. He stands up looking at his friend, smiling at catching her off guard. "How did I not see you?" "I can go invisible too," he tells her, holding the bag before her. "Here you go, the web's made by me." The girl then delivers a gratifying smile that hits him deep inside, almost on the same length as Momo. For some odd reason, she's also sparkling, kind of like how Aoyama does. "Thank you, Spider." That promotes a flinch, and where the emerald protagonist gives her a dark stare accompanied with a sigh. "Can you please not call me that? Even a little hint can let people figure it out. Like that's enough to give away your secret." It worked for Kaken, and Momo one eye darts to the side in response, as if he was staring at a memory left in the side of his head. He needs to do something about this web, no pun intended, of secrets because he's starting to catch school buses with them. "Don't worry, Midoriya. I fully intend on keeping your secret while you be a hero," she says, beginning her statement by patting his shoulder hard yet lightly, before adding with a stigma of pride, "And you let the world know that your success is in part because of the successful inventions of Mei Hatsum." And there it is, her motivation for being on his side. "Besides, they don't know your webs aren't organic. Biogenic. Well, I'm going to go meet up with Momo. Good luck." She waves him off as he walks along, leaving the entrance to blend back and outside, while relaying a text message to his friend. Neither notice the third party not far from their position. Walking down the hallway, Momo reaches the far end where the road between the audience and the participants are split away. The class representative of A continues looking around until she spots someone coming her way. Noticing his green and red clothing, she recognizes the boy as her object of interest. "Izuku," she says, waving to him with a bright smile. "What brings you here?" "Just following a promise," he replies. "I was just about to leave when I thought I could tell you good luck in person." A bright redness forms on her face at that statement, increasing to a point where she begins to sizzle up above. "By the way, what's with the cheerleading outfit?" Finally taking notice, Izuku stares down at her clothing. She wears a bright yellow and blue two-piece cheerleader costume. On her chest is the UA symbol, and she also has knee socks and shoes on that match perfectly. "Oh, this. Mineta and Kaminari told us that the girls from both classes have to dress as cheerleaders until the fighting, as always Sensei's orders." A beat goes by. "Wow. I can't believe UA has cheerleaders. Did he give you and the girls those costumes?" "No. I had to make them." "So, he didn't tell you beforehand? You had to make them yourself because Mineta asked you to?" Honestly, well, he doesn't mind. She's incredibly attractive in that uniform. He feels she's being taken advantage of. If he remembers, Mineta was the one who was constantly asking about his connection with Momo and was ogling her the most out of all the girls present that Saturday. "Yes. Why do you?" That pause at the end brings a content sigh into his mind. "Wait, you don't think?" "Yeah, Momo," shouts someone from far down. Footsteps echo as the person comes closer, revealing herself as Jiru, also in a cheerleader outfit. "We're about to Midoriya." Looking at her, Izuku gives her a wave. "Hello, Jiru. I was just about to leave." "Okay then," says Momo happily as she waves him off. "Take care." "No problem. Good luck in the tournament," he says before he departs. Let the match begin. Jiru shoots out her earlobes towards Momo. The class representative steps back away from the ear whips, seeing that they've stopped a meter away. As predicted, Momo realizes they've reached their 6-meter limit. "Now to make my move." "Sorry, Jiru." She raises her right hand to the jacks, having made something pulled from inside her wrist. "Go." Just as her lobe jacks reach the busty teen's back, they suddenly stop in midair when it happens. A loud, almost deafening, noise is released from behind Momo. The sound is so loud Jiru grabs hold of her ears screaming, but like everything else, it's drowned out by the sound device. "Make it stop. Make it stop," she screams as Momo quickly grabs hold of her to toss her out of the ring. Seeing her out of bounds, the judge for the one-on-one fights midnight makes her judgment. The winner is Yaoi Rozu, is what she says, only for her voice to remain plunged under the sea of noise. That is when Momo picks up the device responsible, a sound bomb no bigger than the average keychain, and attaches a piece. The noise then stops, and the roar of the crowds explode, the contents of their shouting split between annoyance of the noise and awe at Momo's power. Winner, Yaoi Rozu, midnight repeats, using a fingernail to dig out her ears. This concludes the quarterfinal rounds. The sports festival tournament has begun with just a single hitch. Some of Class 1B didn't wish to proceed at the hands of Shinso's mind hacks, so the room was left for Kendo. The first round started with Kendo vs Todoroki, who wins with moderate difficulty, following up with Shinso using his power to easily ring out Rin. In what was a surprise battle, Tokoyami faces Aoyama. Because of this, the former's weakness to light is exposed, and for a time his quirk was useless against the naval laser, until Aoyama couldn't keep the light shining long enough, and he was wrung out. The following match was Bakugo mercilessly trouncing Beastman Shishida. The last half continues the intensity with Kirishima and Tetsutetsu duke it out in a pure brawl that ends in an arm wrestling match the former wins at before Shiozaki easily defeats Ishido, mostly because the pink girl's acid was unable to burn the plant lady's vines fast enough to prevent a ring out. The seventh match has Mei going up against Jiru for the sole purpose of showing off her inventions to investors watching the festival. She immediately forfeited afterward. The last features Kaminari against Momo, who immediately creates an insulated cover to throw over him and push the guy out. The quarterfinals lead with the ice user fighting Shinso. Since Todoroki was aware of his quirk's power, he simply froze him and made him forfeit without saying a word. Tokoyami loses to Bakugo, who uses his explosive hands to spam light attacks, thus negating his quirk's full potential. Shiozaki fights against Kirishima. Because his hardening made him heavier, she couldn't properly hold him up, so she wrapped him up and pushed him out. Knowing her next match will be a difficult one, Momo contemplates how to win. That is why she's sitting in the audience while the next match begins, reading notes she made alongside Izuku. Let us begin the first of the semi-finals. Screams present Mick with the passion of a shonen protagonist. He's the stronghold of Class 1A, the Omegaman of heroes. Hero course, Shoto Todoroki. And his opponent, a blasting renegade with a face only a mother could love. Hero course, Katsuki Bakugo. The ash blonde team groans at the mention of his name, ignoring it to focus on the fight in front of him. So, here we are, face to face ready to prove who will be the best. Guess you got what you wanted. It's good that you're finally focusing on the person in front of you, says the ice user as he narrows his eyes. What, you got a problem with me looking at someone else when I fight? That murderous look appears on his face. Should I be giving you credit for the idea? Taken back by that, Todoroki says, what the hell are you? What, you never heard of hypocrisy? Bakugo raises his left hand mocking a phone. Hello, Pot. This is Kettle. I just wanted to say you're black. Also, I've been fucking your wife in the ass for 4 years. What? You better use that flame power of yours, because whether you like it or not, I'm going to snuff you off and claim the title of the top. You got it. Start. Before any other words could be said, a flurry of frost sweeps the entire stage from in front of Todoroki, encasing everything even where Bakugo once stood. Forget it, Bakugo. You've got enough problems. After saying these words, Todoroki notices something odd happening in his eyes. Looking forward with squinted eyes, the bichromatic student sees that the inside is slowly being hollowed out. Closing in his sight on the slowly building light, the insides explode outward, blasting him backward. Recover. Thinking fast, he uses his right hand to create ice to stop himself with, just in time to see Bakugo exiting a cave of ice with smoking palms. Here I come. Jumping via explosions to dodge a wave of ice coming his way, Bakugo rockets towards Todoroki and grabs his left shoulder and the red of his hair. Now, die. Die. With the application of an explosion, Bakugo tosses Todoroki towards the edge of the ring. Ice forms into a slide as he's launched, blocking his defeat. The crowd looks down in shock at what's happening. This violent asshole of a brat, who probably is the most likely to surpass Gang Orca and the hero who looks more like a villain pole, is trouncing the strongest person here. He's letting him do it too. Bakugo crosses his arms, staring down angrily at him. What a disappointment, I expected way too much from a coward like you. Just because I handicap myself to get stronger. You're not doing that. Otherwise, you'd drop that notion and come at the guy who's been breaking you since the fight started. Do you think you can be the best without giving it your all? I can't even take down him at my best, so I sure as hell ain't gonna lose to anyone else. Him? Bakugo rushes forth to blast him out of bounds, only to miss by a fraction. Todoroki grabs him with his left arm and tosses the guy aside. Bakugo lands just near the center of the arena, rolling to his feet. Just who are you trying to fight? Those bichromatic eyes narrow, thinking up something. Is it that guy who hangs out with Yaoi Rozu? Taking a kneeling position, Bakugo rubs his hands against his arms, collecting more of his sweat. Crossing his arms in front of his face, he speaks, "I'm tired of wasting time on you. If this is the best you got, then I'm ending this now. I have no interest in being anything more than the strongest hero ever, nor will I waste my time fighting a guy who can't look to the future. I'll hit you with an attack too powerful for your eyes." He leaps in the air using leg muscles and explosions. While in midair, the teen uses his explosions to spiral up a tornado around him. The brown smolder of smoke collects around him with 3 wisps. He spirals downward toward Todoroki, glaring at his opponent. In a short instance, a rise in heat melts away the frost on his body just as Bakugo takes flight for his final move. Todoroki draws out his right hand before drawing his hand forward to release all his might. We'll see about that. Howitzer impact. The ice wall rises forward at Bakugo, some of the frosts pointed towards the speeding bullet. Touching down on the frozen wall, the walking nuke unleashes all of his explosive power and unleashes it along with the collected oxygen. The result is a super detonation compared to the rest of his other explosive attacks that shatters away the ice wall like it was a glass dome. The all-consuming explosion covers everything in the arena, wind pressure notwithstanding. The smoke then finally disperses, revealing the results of the battle. Bakugo lies chest down on broken pieces of ice looking at his opponent. Todoroki can be found on a pile of ice, face up, eyes closed, not responsive. Seeing him downed, Bakugo plops down with a sigh, releasing all of his effort and tiredness. Todoroki is unconscious. The winner is Bakugo. Up in the stands, Momo holds her mouth in shock seeing the results. Her heart beats like a record seeing who will, should she win, become her next opponent. I'll have to make that then. But first, she needs to handle Shiozaki. And she knows just what is necessary, or one of 2 things that are, thanks to Bakugo. The next match begins shortly after a quick cleanup of the disastrous mess. Worried about her current matchup in the next, Momo walks to the arena collecting her nerves. Shiozaki walks up opposite the class rep of 1A, who gives a delicate stare. And now, the last match of the semi-finals. The Black Rose Gale of Heroics, Hero Course Shiozaki. Her opponent, the lady who comes with everything. Hero Course, Yaoi Rozu. Shiozaki looks upon her equally attractive opponent with a smile. "I apologize for any pain I may cause you." "Ditto," she replies, immediately contemplating what to do. What is the easiest way to handle someone with her incredible technique? Start. Via Dolorosa. Shiozaki stretches her arms out, sending a flurry of her hair across the arena. Momo, deciding on a plan, immediately creates 2 things from out of her belly. The Vine Girl watches as she throws on a pair of shades before tossing something out. "Nothing you use will work on me." Seconds later, an explosion of light like the sun opened out of the palm of one's hand illuminates the entire arena before them. Blinded, Shiozaki screams out, holding her eyes. Her hair billows about uncontrollably as a result. She then rushes forth while drawing her staff from her left arm. It has 2 brown handguards on both ends, which she grabs. Have to make this quick. Momo raises her weapon and using the shaft pushes Shiozaki by her shoulder and neck. Almost there. "I can barely see, but I know you're here." Shiozaki grabs hold of Momo's staff before guiding her hair around to attempt to entangle Momo. "I've got you now." Momo ignores the vines, resolving to push her out before she could lose the fight. But the future she pushes, the more her eyes start to see blackness. Lunch wasn't enough. "It's best not to overwork," says Shiozaki before having her hair pull Momo away. Lifted in the air in a hand of vines, Momo groans as she tries to break free. Only her right arm and head aren't consumed by vines. "Give up now." "No." She shouts defiantly as she struggles. "If Izuku doesn't give up, then I won't either." From out in front of her, the vines are quickly cut, leaving an opening for her to fall from. Momo drops down, landing on her left knee and right foot. Her left arm strikes down holding a chrome object, her top blown open, revealing her wonderbra. The chrome object is a circular shield 762mm in diameter with a grip and arm strap. 3 rims are coming down from a circular center. "Creation successful," she mutters before standing back up. Her eyesight coming back, Shiozaki asks, "What's that?" "My newest creation." She removes her shield and grabs it by the edge before reenacting a frisbee toss by throwing it at her vine-haired opponent. Said girl extends her hair to block, though not a single one of her vines manages to divert or even slow it down by even a margin. The shield hits her hard in the chest, sending her flying off the ground to a ring out just a foot away. The shield comes back towards Momo, who reads its path and stretches her hands to grab it. Just like training, the shield misses her fingers and continues spinning towards her sight. Should have trained more. The imminent collision knocks her head to the right, where she immediately falls, hitting the ground painfully. At the same time, Shiozaki's behind touches down outside the arena. Midnight makes her judgment as the audience cringes at Momo's mistake. The winner is Yayoi Rozu. She will wait. Leaving her position at the end of the arena, she goes over to check up on Momo. Unconscious at double knockout. B. Leavable. Elsewhere. What a dumb move. I can't believe she would blunder like that and miss the catch. Did you notice something, Master? That shield, she may have mastered the structure of that metal. Think we can use her? Master, the Namu are ready. A third party standing on the sidelines watches as the two others turn their attention to him. The one who spoke earlier looks on to see two figures standing in the background, overshadowed by the room's natural darkness. The speaker, his yellow eyes shining in the darkness revealing him to be Kurogiri, approaches the smallest, most feminine looking of the bunch. Even better, they lack the deterioration from previous experiments with the venom. Not convinced. The first thing we need to do is rebuild our organization with more determined folk than the last. A hand stretches out and pats someone. That will be your job, Tamura. Try to succeed this time. Let the final match begin. Bakugo rushes forward the moment Midnight gave the go, his feet pumping off the ground pushing him towards his opponent. What a violent beast. Repeating the tactic used on Momo, Shiozaki sends out her flurry of vines towards the ash blonde brawler. That move won't work on me. He rockets up in the air using his quirk before propelling towards her. He fires more at her, blocked by a wall of vines she summons from the ground. Bakugo, annoyed with her vines, shouts, "Let's see you stop it from the back." He fires himself upward until he's positioned in the air at her blind spot. Fucking vines. Die. He fires off another explosion, but like before, vines shoot up and block the attack again. This time, however, more rise up from the ground to entangle Bakugo. She wraps him up in a blanket of thorns, squeezing his hands to his chest. What? The back of the neck is every creature's blind spot, so of course you would do something sinful and attack me from there, she says, turning around to face him with a condescending glare. I have been watching you this entire time, and I am well versed in your ways. Consider this divine atonement. What the fuck are you? He ends up shouting when she tosses him hard into the ground to her 10 o'clock. Still wrapped up, he struggles to get into position as more vines surround him. Your explosions burn, but they can't set my vines on fire, and you need oxygen to ignite. That is your shortcoming in fighting me. The religious woman continues to swarm him until there's nothing but a large bush of vines containing a very pissed off teenager. Midnight gets a good look at the pile before making her judgment. Bakugo is unable to move. The winner is. Kaboom. Ripping through the sound barrier, a massive explosion shoots out from the center of the vines. The powerful blast is enough to even send Shiozaki flying backward. She groans from the painful blast and her sudden landing, looking at herself in the opening in her uniform top. This forces her to quickly cover up, staring at the man responsible. Shiozaki is out of bounds. The winner of this battle and the crown champion of the annual first-year UA Sports Festival is Katsuki Bakugo. Midnight announces, raising her punishment whip in the air to Bakugo. Shiozaki looks back at where she's sitting, realizing she's on the other side of the markings labeled 4 out of bounds. I lost. Bakugo gives a brief huff before walking over to her. You were right, I didn't have much air to spare. He extends a hand to her, his shaky left hand that was just used. So I used everything in that one shot. Next time, don't tell me about my shortcomings, I know what I can and can't do. Looking back at his hand and then him, she accepts. Present Mick in the background announces the end of the festival, fireworks going off in the air as a result. It's over. Elsewhere. In Recovery Girl's room, Momo can be found in a hospital bed underneath a sheet. Groaning, she rises holding her suddenly throbbing forehead. My head, what happened? She asks, not knowing if someone was around or not. The elderly nurse turns in her chair away from the desk holding her computer and speaks, you were brought here concluding your semi-final match. Thinking that she now starts to remember certain things. Oh yeah, wait, what was? You lost. At that, she drops her head back onto the pillow she was resting on. Your shoes and shield are over there when you fully recover. She points nearest the exit. I guess because I was unconscious, Todoroki got 3rd place. Recovery Girl gives a nod at that. Thanks for healing me. Holding the mark on her head, she groans at her defeat. Even though the sports festival is over, she will become stronger from this. No matter where she gets help from. Chapter 17. Today is a stress-filled day for All Might. Here he sits in his golden age costume looking on with his skeletal appearance before the likes of his peers. In an office with him are some of the other teachers of UA, including the bear mouse thing Nezu. Seems like everything is in order, said Mouse Man as he reads over an application. On it reads Izuku Midoriya's name and information, along with his vigilante name. It's half surprising that you would personally recommend a vigilante to become a hero. He probably felt guilty for inspiring his criminal activities and decided to take action, speaks a lanky-looking man with depressed-looking eyes. So this is him, growls Hound Dog, reading his copy of the application. We should turn him over to the police. No, this is fine, says Nezu with a smile. I mean, he seems like a nice boy. If All Might went through the trouble of doing this personally, there would be no point. I don't care. The lanky guy gets up from his seat. I don't have time to waste on pointless discussions. Just give him a chance, and if he fails we make him stop. Well, Azawa makes a good point. This comes from the sole woman in the room, Midnight. Then it's settled. Now he just needs the recommendations. The school day following the sports festival finds a fancy limousine driving down the streets of Musatafu. Inside are both Momo and Izuku sitting in the back, both sporting red flares on their cheeks. So, you're okay, right? He asks with utmost worry. Shouldn't they have let you wake up to at least fight Todoroki? I would not have made it anyway, she replies solemnly. That shield I made used up the rest of my fat reserves. I was practically running on fumes afterward, that's why I stayed unconscious even after Bakugo's match. What was in that shield? Ocelite, other metals, but mostly ocelite. The atomic structure of that vibrating metal is so precise, she says as she glances over at the frisbee shield beside her. I don't think I can make it the same way again. That's a cool shield though. I wish I had one, is Izuku's thought seeing it. He also gives a bit of a sigh of relief. Now that Momo can make more ocelite, she replaced the metal that was stolen. But anyway, who are you going to for your internship? I've many choices, but not as much as Todoroki or Bakugo, she tells him, a bit of discontent in her mouth at the mention of the spiky blonde. She then shows him a list of agencies who are offering her an internship. The highest ranking hero on my list, Iwabami. I was thinking of going to her. You sure? He asks, looking at the snake heroine circled. Well, is there a reason you chose her? Isn't it obvious? She speaks, looking down at her paper. As the most famous hero in my listing, I figured she would be the best to help me with my problem. Izuku looks at the other names. But, well, I think she just wants to use you. Eh? She flinches here. I've seen a lot of hero commercials, and she tends to do so many. After the sports festival, I noticed that they would have people from the festival tournaments, or at least only the beautiful girls who get far, he replies, causing his rich friend to widen her eyes. The realization hits her, she only wanted her for her looks. Oh. Izuku shows her the list again. Just keep looking and I'm sure you'll find someone better for what you need. Oh, here's my stop. She waves off her driver, making the limo stop just in front of Izuku's home. Once he gets out, she leaves her seat to grab his arm. This turns her bright red. Izuku, you said that she picked beautiful girls, right? Yeah. The realization of her implication hits him and prompts the boy to deliver the tomato impression. Oh. Yes, I did say that. Do you think I'm beautiful? Of course. He suddenly shouts, before freaking out at his admission. I mean, I've always thought you were pretty. Not that that's all I think about you. You are beautiful, but you're also smart and kind too. Very sweet when you can be. Not that you never are. She grabs his shoulders and shakes him. Izuku, it's okay. Her face turns a lighter shade of red. She then reaches out to hug him with a taunting smile. The rich girl then pulls away, saying, "Good night, Deku." "Good night, Momo," he replies, giving his taunting glare back while recovering. Once the limo drives away, he sighs as his heart beats faster. "Izuku, calm down, you'll die of a heart attack. I just really hope she feels the way I feel for her." Momo sits in her seat holding her heart while smiling. Thank goodness he does think I'm beautiful. They say the shy ones are best in the sack, speaks her driver, who chuckles when the girl becomes flabbergasted. Back with Izuku, after climbing the steps he opens the door, stepping inside his apartment home, looking down at the extra pair of shoes left just at the entrance. Stepping forth into his abode, he spots someone sitting inside next to his mother. She is a beautiful woman with the body of a goddess, a full figure merged with an Hercules if you will. She has burgundy red hair which is cut short just below her cheeks, styled to have 3 bangs. This woman also possesses sensual brown eyes. Her attire is a sweater black as midnight with a wide collar striped orange and black, and her skirt is a khaki taupe over black stockings. Oh, and this has nothing to do with anything, but she has big B. Believe me, I know how that feels, says the woman to Inko. Her eyes then turn to the entrance where Izuku can be seen standing. Oh, you're here. Hi. The arachnid gives a wave to the older woman. Though he was surprised with her appearance in his home, he takes notice of her hair and face, before realizing just who she is. Are you? The pleasure to meet you, Izuku Midoriya. Her quick words stop him from continuing his verbal assessment. She stands and walks towards him, extending a hand to him while recollecting her calm composure. My name is Shino Sasaki, formerly the leader of the Wild Pussycats Mandalay. Don't let her know we already know, Spider-Man. He gives a nod and shakes her hand after hearing her telepathic words. This Sasaki wanted to inform you of your apprenticeship, speaks Inko. The news invites joy in his heart as he ignores the awkwardness and asks her if that's true. With a response of a nod, she says, take a seat, I'll explain it to you. Moving forth, he takes a seat in between his former hunter and his mother. Taking a minute to get rid of his blushing, he looks up to Mandalay as she explains his situation. With you, you are still a vigilante in the eyes of the law and a hero to the public. The apprenticeship, also known as the Dual Admission Hero Program, is for those kinds of people who show potential in being heroes but cannot enter a hero school. You will work underneath other heroes and on your earning merit and credit to gain a professional license. Then I guess I need to get ready. What do I do for my first mission? Oh, you don't get to join it yet. To be accepted into the apprenticeship, you must earn the good graces and recommendations of 5 different pro heroes who currently own a license, not including the person who offered it to you. Blinking, Izuku processes the data she just spread across his web. If he is to be a hero, he needs to get 5 other heroes to give him the okay. Are there truly other heroes who see him in a positive light and wouldn't mind if he became a hero? Because last he remembers, Endeavor is actively pursuing him. Maybe that's why All Might asked him to make a different costume. Thank you for telling me, Miss Mandalay, he says, leaning his head forward to nod to the woman. No problem. She then rises out of her seat heading for the front door. You'll have to forgive me for being unavailable for the next few days, I have a business to attend. Business? Izuku pauses in shock when he spots the look on her face. It's one that is hard to read, but familiar. If he had seen it directed at him, he'd probably recognize it. An old friend just came back on the radar. I'll be paying him a visit soon. She then throws on her shoes and heads out the door in a haste. Izuku watches as she goes, before immediately going to his room. I'll come out for dinner later, Mom, he replies before closing the door. Inside his fortress of solitude, he turns on his computer and starts typing, after it loads anyway. He's been meaning to do this since he found out she was Black Cat, but now he needs to know what drove her to be the bad luck spy. Wild Pussycats and disbandment. Upon entering the search, he comes to an article. It reads, the Wild Pussycats, one of the first 10 hero teams to be made. The team originated as hero explorers, treasure hunters who traversed unknown locations with the full authority to use their quirks, before expanding their options to become heroes upon the retirement of team leader Anubis. His daughters Bengal and Mandalay, also known as Yuruo and Shino Sasaki, led the group in his place, alongside other members Sphinx, Tiger, Ragdoll, and their newest member Pixie Bob. They led successful years of heroic specializing in mountain rescues until a decade after their career change of villain attack. Oh no. Sitting back, Izuku looks to his window imagining Mandalay. He then continues reading. Until a decade after their career change, a villain attacked and killed then married couple Bengal and Sphinx Miss Mandalay. Elsewhere. At home, Bakugo can be found in the bathroom brushing his teeth. Unlike usual where he would scream at the top of his lungs doing it, he's doing it patient and slow as if something is on his mind. Looking down at the gold medal around his chest, he taps it with a groan. I told him I didn't want it, and he gave it anyway. He throws it at the bathroom door in a rage. Kitsuki. Kill the fucking noise. Shoto. The youngest Todoroki looks back as he ties his shoes. He spots his sister, who also sports 2 different hair colors, but in a newer way, with a worried expression on her face. Where are you going today? I need some time to think about things. Alone. With that, he pushes open the door and leaves his Japanese-style home. Down the street, he walks, eyes to the ground as he continues his unintentional trek. His mind wanders. Flashback. Why did I have to wake up and see his face? Of all the people, it's him. I saw what you did out there, he says to me. And it hurts to see that I'm right in such a painful way. Please don't. You had the perfect opportunity to seize victory, and you wasted it. And do you know why? Stop. Because you were so fixated on defying me. Remember this, you can never overcome your weakness unless you stop holding back. Hesitation leads to defeat or death. I know. Then stop this pointless road of defiance and grow up. I know. How can I agree with that? How the hell can I throw away my hatred and use your cursed power? I can't. That's why I lost. Just get out of here. As I watch him leave, and he thankfully doesn't say a word, I keep thinking about what he said. What Bakugo said. What Midoriya said. And why only now do their words make sense. Then flashback. Coming back to reality, Todoroki sits in the park staring at the ground. He checks his phone for the time, seeing a picture of his mom as the lock screen background. Mom, how can I just forget? How can I forgive him? For what he did to you? For what he made you do? Time skip. 3/11 9/11. Shout both Hitomi and Izuku at once. Dr. Cage looks at his notes before saying, Yatsu, incorrect. Midoriya, correct. He then writes down the answer as Izuku smiles with relief. His blue-haired rival gives him the look before checking over her work looking for where she went wrong. While trying to correct herself, the bell rings. The lizard professor then says, well, class is over. Remember to pick up your tests before you leave. He gestures to a stack of papers that Izuku and the others pass by grabbing their tests, all of them face down. Hitomi grabs hers on her way out, pausing just outside the classroom door when she checks the surprising result. 78. Izuku passes by her holding up his test with a smile. His stapled slips of paper are immediately ripped from his fingertips by Hitomi, who stares angrily. 90. It's rude to take things from other people, he says taking his test back. How did you do better than me? You were always a step behind, and you're never on time. Her voice cracks at her situation's audacity. It doesn't make sense. I've been studying a lot lately. That shouldn't. Look, I gotta go, he says, taking off for the school exit. 5 days have gone by since Izuku met with Shino Sasaki out of costume, and for the time being he's done nothing but focus on his schoolwork. From what he remembers reading Momo's text, she and her class will be doing internships starting this weekend, so she'll be out of reach for a long time. And since he doesn't have his suit back yet, the spider's on hiatus. Entering his home, he waves to his mother vacuuming the floor. Izuku, welcome back. You had a visitor. That surprises him. Turning to where she points, he spots a metallic suitcase resting on top of the dining room table. Approaching it and looking at the bright yellow sticky note that reads, HM, he gives a bright big smile. She left that for you, said to read the inside. Okay, thanks mom. He says quickly before taking off heading for his room with a briefcase in his arms, cheeks rose ear to ear, showing his eager joy. He closes the door just slightly, remembering his strength, and spots exactly what he's been waiting for. But first, he reads the bright piece of paper left on the top of the case. I gotta look at your notes and decided that you're right, it definitely should be red and blue. It'll take time to make it, so here's a rough sketch. Along with the other stuff you requested, I added white to make a splendidly nice contrast. In the belt are 2 shurikens in the shape of spiders, they were hard to make. Thank you for the challenge. Izuku puts down the paper after completion of reading, before checking a slip of paper on his new costume that possesses a list of its features. Sighing, he places the paper aside to pick up the package and open it. He then stares at his brand new web shooters and the belt that came with it. This is gonna be amazing, he says with a content smile. But first, I can at least try the knives with Momo's suit. Izuku. Yeah? No going out until you finish your homework. Yeah? Eventually, our emerald protagonist climbs out of his bedroom window coming out on top of the roof. Tightening his mask and adjusting his web shooters, he makes a mighty leap and swings out into the city. Passing overhead, he views the citizens of Musatafu going about their pre-twilight hour day with a friendly wave, some giving him a wave and cheer if they manage to notice him. Mid-swing he careens his legs upward to kick up in the air, increasing his altitude before flipping forward, giving the illusion that he was floating in the air for a brief second. Here, all of the city can't see him. His lenses scan the next area he will head for, the olive squinting as he moves in closer. Firing a web line to a nearby building, he pulls himself forward, zipping across the air like a bullet. This sets him up for a dive to swing forward, giving him enough speed to swing faster and faster. Soon enough he stops, landing on the ledge of the local bank's building. He glances around to see heroes on the scene making their rounds. If I'm going to get recommendations, I need to find someone who doesn't hate me. With that in mind, he decides to go for the 3 heroes who operate mostly in Musatafu, the tree hero Kamui Woods, the strong hero Death Arms, and the big hero Mount Lady. Considering he spends more time around them than most of the other heroes, he has the best chance of convincing them than anyone else. Making a move, he swings across the air looking for the 3 heroes, eventually spotting a man running down the street with yen flying out of his trench coat. Might as well stop him. If there's a reasonable explanation, I can always apologize. Izuku flips in the air before swinging down to perch on top of a lamppost right behind him. From there he fires a web line that attaches to his back before pulling hard to yank him in midair and drop him on his behind. Whoa, buddy. Where's the fire? He quips, jumping down next to the runner. Get out of my way, webhead. He turns around, revealing his skull helmet wearing face. He then summons yellow lightning around himself and fires at Spidey, watching him jump in the air, avoiding his blow. Electricity, then I'll make this quick. He shoots webbing to contain the electric user's arms before firing a line with the other hand to pull himself forward. His move allows the spider to crash down and lock his opponent to the ground, stomping on his chest. The villain unleashes a major blast of lightning, sending Izuku flying backward into the ground. As he shakes and trembles in pain, the electric villain starts collecting his dropped money and starts running away. Lacquered chains prison. Several branches shoot out from above containing the electric criminal. His yellow sparks remain on his person as he tries to break free, before griping when he realizes who's behind this. Amui Woods comes down from the side of a building, attached to the branches containing the villain. Gotcha. He then steps toward the villain and karate chops him on the head, knocking the guy out. It's hard to believe you ruined your chances again after escaping prison. After breaking off the wood around the captured, he turns around to face the slowly recovering Spider-Man. Ugh, he walks over and extends a hand to him. You okay? Thanks, he says, taking his hand to properly stand up. Hey, can I ask for a favor? Favor? I've been signed up for this dual admissions program, and you need recommendations. He asks him, his eyes widening underneath his helmet mask. Yeah. How did? Experience. He turns around, crossing his arms as he stares at the unconscious electric villain. I didn't get to be a hero because of traditional methods, I started out as a vigilante too. That bit of news takes Izuku by surprise. He doesn't know much about his checkered past, hell no one does. But, that's a bit shocking. You were a vigilante. Amui then turns back to face him. I'll offer my condolences, so long as you remain on this righteous path and keep that justice in your heart. Police sirens resound nearby, catching their attention. Better get going. I'll clean up. Oh okay. Thank you. He shouts, before running off down the street. He then jumps up happily, using his webs to swing across the air above the police car that stopped by. That went better than I expected. Though his mask is on, he is making the biggest smile of his life as he continues to swing. But, he knows this is only the start, 1 down, 4 to go. He lands just on top of a neon sign, looking down at the city with that smile trapped underneath his mask. He checks the time on his phone. Now, who else can I ask? Hello there. He quickly turns around to see someone stepping directly in front of him. Before his eyes is the enlarged Mount Lady kneeling in front of him, a dark red burn across her cheeks. Fancy seeing you this evening. Mount Lady. He jumps off the sign and fires a line on a street lamp to swing up and zip on top of a ledge. Normally, he would make a run for it, but here he has an opportunity. What can I do for you? Have you made a decision, or do you still need time? She asks, leaning against the ledge to look at him. He steps off the ledge to come face to face with her, getting ready to make his proposal. Mount Lady, I was hoping to ask you for a favor. A favor? From me? Something about the look in her eyes makes him feel nervous. I need a recommendation for this dual admissions course so I can become a hero, and it has to be from other pro heroes. Her nose rises as she HMS about the proposition, but when he sees her lips curl upward into a smile, he immediately starts to regret this decision. On one condition, show me your face. There's a beat of silence. Take off your mask and kiss me, and I'll decide whether to recommend you or not. As she bares her teeth into a lustful smile, Spider-Man erects his body straight while jittering. While he should have expected this, he didn't think she was that into him. They barely know each other, and she's interested in kissing. He's never really kissed another girl before, and that mask kiss she threw him earlier doesn't count. But really, the other more important thing is he'll have to give her his face to be a hero, though that's the only part he can sort of give up to. Will she keep it a secret? Will anyone be able to see them? No. He needs to get that recommendation, no matter who it's from. Thinking it over, as long as she doesn't know his name or remembers his face, she can't tell anyone else. Alright. Just promise me you'll never tell anyone how I look. Oh, calm down. I can keep a secret. Izuku grabs the bottom of his mask and pulls up from the front. Here he's done it, willingly revealed himself to someone for the first time. And to his surprise, she doesn't have the face of someone who loves to gossip. She doesn't have that sexy smile on her either. She looks horrified. Almost disgusted. You're how old are I thought you were before his senses could warn him. He's suddenly hit by a yellow tidal wave that sends him far back, making his skull hit the other ledge of the building. Pulling himself up and trying not to repeat what she did, he watches as Mount Lady runs away holding her stomach. He may not get that recommendation. Elsewhere. Out by Hosu, a man wearing a dark blue cloak sits at a table outside of a cafe. In front of him sits a parfait. He picks it and a spoon up and proceeds to dig in, after saying, "Game clear. I get to reward myself." Once it's finished, he looks around before checking a wristwatch on the left arm. Maybe I have time for one more game. He drops money on the table and heads down the sidewalk. As he does, his mind starts doing science. What should the next game be? That's when he spots her, a hero on patrol wearing black dominantly. Alright. People wearing black, that's my newest game. He takes out his watch and sets the timer for 24 hours. 40 people and kids wearing black. And start. Chapter 18. Alright, let's get a move on. In the serene dusk of the night, a fledgling hero runs down the street alongside the hero Death Arms. From the attire, it comes off as a well-developed girl dressed in bright red spandex with a billowing cape prominent behind her colored a violet shade. She wears dandelion yellow gauntlets and a glass ball for a helmet. Inwardly, the girl gripes as she continues to try and keep up, with no avail. Don't be a weakling. You need a body to keep up with your movements, so maybe rethink that fishbowl design. Not a chance. The burly hero stops when he spots someone just up ahead, performing a mugging. Not that I'm glad, but finally there's some action. Mysterian, stand back as I. Before he could take action, a string of webs fire out and implants upon the guy's left hand and pulls the knife away from the victim's neck without leaving a cut. As he wonders what's going on, another line pulls him up above, having him hang underneath the railroad tracks in a cocoon of webs. It's amazing how many people have nothing better to do than to spend the night harassing people. Death Arms looks up to see Spider-Man leaving a comment about the person he captured. On another line, he slowly descends reaching the strong hero. Spider-Man, I was hoping to catch you someday. He says, cracking his knuckles. Actually, I was hoping to ask you for a favor, he says to the pro. I'm not doing a damn thing for you. He throws a punch at him, a move that misses as he flips up swinging on the line he still holds onto. I guess never mind. Through his lenses, he spots the red heroine just not far away. Is that Mysterio? No, that's my dad. She twists her helmet and lifts it off, revealing her face. I'm the magic heroine Mysterian. That's a shimmy. He blurts out suddenly, shocked to see Kami from UA there. But thinking about it, it would make sense. This is the internship week, Momo told him. The real surprise is seeing her dressed as the red version of the main villain from that hit movie. Kami's nose wrinkles. What smells like stomach acid? Spider-Man pulls upward to spring himself up the web, effectively avoiding Death Arms' grasp. Get back here, you punk. As soon as you put your hands behind your back, he replies, before swinging away to take off. Swinging in the air, Izuku continues to think about his position. He's been checking around all of Musatafu, checking for people to give him the recommendations he needs, and for one reason or another, he hasn't been able to get anyone except for Kamui Woods to back him up. Everyone else in his sector of Tokyo has given him the blind eye. Sorry, but I can't really endorse you. If I do this, then everyone will think they can do the same and be a hero. The criminal is a criminal, no matter how well-meaning they are. I'd rather no one ever find out I tried to make out with a kid. Izuku makes a turn heading down the street towards his home. With the day getting as late as it is, he can't stay out this long if his progress is not gonna bear any fruit. The weekend will give him much needed time to spread his net and check for people to give him the good old thumbs up. Plus, it'll give him time to wash his costume. Landing on top of his home, he climbs in through the window and lands on his bed, immediately stripping out of the smell of puke he's been wearing. He detaches his phone from the back of the belt and tosses the costume into the hamper, plopping back on his bed with a sigh of defeat. Before he could gripe, he turns on his phone upon seeing an alert. There he finds a text message from Momo. Going to work in Center Tokyo under the rabbit heroine Mirko. Ooh. He relays a text replying, hope you get something good out of it. After sending it, a thought then crosses his mind, so he texts back, you think she'll be interested in giving me a recommendation? After a while, he eventually gets a reply. Maybe. If I were you, I'd go see Best Jeanist. He's nearby, and he's more likely to give you a chance. The number 4 hero in Japan, that'll be a great choice. Anyway, I'll talk later. Maybe if you're coming we can meet out on the streets. We'll try to. Night Momo. Night Deku. With his texting over, Izuku takes a minute to exhale a sigh of relief. The emerald protagonist drops down with a weight associated with a sack of bricks, slipping under the covers as he passes out in his dark room. His mind drifts to who could be the next person to give him the recommendation before it drifts to his close friend Momo and whatever future they could have together. These thoughts end when he finally succumbs to dreams. All the while, he remains ignorant of the figure stepping into his bedroom. The person stretches a hand out to slowly caress his cheek, a hand that matches with the darkness of the room. What do you plan to do to him? Nothing you need to worry about, and no, that does not mean to be threatening. You left him for me. Why? I felt something I never felt before. And I needed a new perspective to understand it. Let's go now. Inko walks away, leaving her son to sleep in soothing darkness. The next morning. Ready for the morning, Izuku stands in the kitchen with his vigilante uniform. He pulls it out of a full sink of water, soap, and baking soda. He gives it a sniff and sighs with content. Good. No more vomit. Oh, now he has another problem. Well, I guess it can dry as I swing. The boy proceeds to wring it as dry as he could before heading into his bedroom. 10 minutes later he comes out in his damp costume, a squishy sound coming out with each step. "Oh, Izuku," says his mother as she watches her son step out of his bedroom finally. He gives a wave to her as he pulls down on his mask. Heading out. Yup. I'll be going to Kanto City for the time being to get more recommendations. Kamui Woods is my only one, he explains, lifting his bag on his back to tighten it. The mother takes a seat at the table, staring down the food she prepared. "So you don't even have time for breakfast?" Her question stops him just before he could go out the door. Taking a look at the spread, he wipes the drool away to take a seat. The family of two enjoy one of their many mornings eating breakfast together, consisting of everything a Japanese breakfast would contain. And for some reason, chocolate. As they eat, Izuku looks upon his mother with a strange interest. He didn't mention it earlier, but something about her is different. Is it me, or has she lost weight? She looks somewhat thinner. Upon finishing, Izuku takes a stand and heads for the front door. "Izuku," his mother calls out just before he could throw his mask on, "make sure you're okay. I don't think I can handle you coming home bleeding." Hearing that, he makes a nod, smiling at her. Thinking about it, she must have been worried this whole time since learning he was the spider. The least he can do is alleviate those worries by being more careful. "I'll make sure I stay safe." As if the amazing Deku is going anywhere. His smile remains even as he throws down the mask over his face. She gives a slight chuckle for some reason. "Don't you mean the amazing Spider-Man?" "Damn it. Thanks, Mom." With that, he opens the door, thankful the mask is covering the embarrassment he suffered just now. The blazing hot sun beats down on him before he makes a swing out into the city. Traversing the skies for minutes, he manages to catch the subway station up ahead. He makes a landing and pays his fare to properly enter, ignoring the strange looks he's getting. He immediately understands he'll have to get used to it because Izuku is going to be standing on a train for an undetermined amount of time as Spider-Man. Sticking to the floor just on the side of the window, Izuku can be found looking at the many people around him as the citizens wave and take pictures of him. While waiting for his stop to arrive, he picks at his arm, feeling his suit has dried a bit. Phew. Achoo. He looks up to see the stop notification telling him that Kanto, the central district of the humongous city known as Tokyo, is coming up close. Now that he's close enough, he can web swing the rest of the way. That's why he's getting up out of his seat to pass through the crowds to finally step outside before jumping atop a still stop train to web swing out into the city. "And that's why I swing to school now," he says to no one while swinging across the skies as if he was God's acrobat. Elsewhere in Kanto, the number 4 hero in Japan can be seen inside his office. Why? The hero must be able to put those he rescues at ease. Your speech, physical appearance, and actions are to be elegant if you must be a hero. Like this. He's in the main office with his interns combing the head of his main problem child as he sits in front of him. "Do you understand?" "Yes. Best genius, sir," says the others, save the sole guy with ash blonde hair whose spikes have been slicked over. "Of all the places I could have gone," is what Bakugo is thinking before his hair explodes back to normal. From start to now he's been dealing with this. Flashback. "Allow me to be frank," says Best Jeanist, his back facing me like any other smug douchebag. "As soon as I come in he's getting all professional and annoying on me. I should say something smart like, allow me to be Bakugo. And then when he says his name I lie, don't like you. Shit. Missed the timing. Wait, what? You don't what? I know exactly why you chose my agency, because out of the top 5 heroes in Japan, I was the only one who extended my offer to you. Yeah, and? That's your fault." Is he slicking his hair to keep it straight along his eyebrows? "I'm starting to regret this, especially when he says, yes, well, recently, all my recruits have been goody little two-shoes, so you kind of stood out. I saw your destructive nature at the sports festival, and through that studied how effective your quirk is and how versatile it can be. But you believe you are the best and will lord your superiority over everyone you feels inferior for whatever reason. This seemed like the best opportunity. And now I'm gonna fight him. You better not get your hangups on. I can't move. Looking down, my arms and legs are all tied up in threads. Damn it, I forgot about his fucking quirk. Directing people like you is my duty to society." Then flashback. Thinking about it causes the blonde to shake in his seat. Moral lessons. Proper etiquette. Combing my fucking hair. He glances to the right out at the bay window. And then there's that cubic. That gets him to shoot up out of his seat, knocking the comb out of Best Jeanist's hands. But that's not important right now to him because Deku is clinging to the glass staring in at him. Like a bug on the windshield with no knowledge or care for etiquette, he knocks before waving what he believes to be an obvious smile present underneath his mask. "Hello." The stylish hero glances at the arachnid before saying, "Let him inside. This is a good opportunity." "Yes. Best Jeanist, sir," says an intern as he goes out to open the door for him. The number 4 hero glances over at Bakugo as Spider-Man climbs down to enter the building, analyzing his enraged expression. Minutes later, Izuku steps inside of the building. Tense and nervous, Izuku waves to the pro hero as he enters the main room where the office is. Before he could speak his request, his elbows are quickly fastened together in handcuffs made of threads. This also goes for his knees and thighs. I think I squeezed my nuts together. He looks up to see Best Jeanist's hands holding threads. The hero walks over to him speaking, well, if it isn't the esteemed vigilante of Musatafu. Before stopping right in front of him. Normally, this would be the perfect opportunity to take you in, but I have to wonder why exactly you would risk your life by coming to a hero agency. Let alone far out of your territory. As he speaks, Spider-Man shuffles a bit, slowly pushing against the threads before stopping. He then gives his response. I wanted to ask for a hero recommendation for dual admission. The blonde man's eyes narrow at that. With a slight raise of a finger, all the threads release their vice on Izuku. He then says, I hadn't heard that. The adult then walks towards our emerald protagonist with a glare. I haven't done that in a while. So you're attempting to become a true pro. Hearing his calm words, Izuku gains a bit of hope in his heart. He's finally found another hero who supports his decision to be a professional. Does that mean? Life isn't that fair, he replies, shutting him down before he could begin. If you want something, you have to earn it. Wasn't that implied? I want you to prove you can become a hero of my standards. Only then will I consider you for a recommendation. Do you understand? But the threads loosened, Izuku pulls out of his bindings ready to give his answer. Sure. The water hero Manuel walks along the streets with his intern Ida, who keeps his eyes out staring at the many alleyways they pass by. Looking at him, Manuel ignores the people waving at them to speak. So, how are you feeling today? Good, is the glasses wearer's response. Sorry that today isn't exciting. No, boring is fine. A doctor doesn't wish for patience after all, speaks the armored runner. Manuel narrows his eyes before speaking his mind. So, sorry for intruding, but I have to know, you're after your brother's attacker, aren't you? Ida holds still at that, fitting as they've stopped walking. I mean, it makes sense considering you're Ingenium's brother and you joined my agency where it happened, and while I am flattered, I should make it known that heroes shouldn't be motivated by personal grudges. Vigilantism is strictly against the rule because using your quirk for such reasons is a major crime. Ida drops his head. And not that I am saying he should get away with it, but there are regulations to this. You got this serious look on your face after all. I appreciate the warning, thank you. He nods to his mentor and they recommence their patrol. Despite that, his arm shakes. The tight grip he hasn't lessened most slightly. Back in Kantoy. The blazing hot sun beats down on everyone down below walking about their business. Izuku can be found among them, in front of him the thread hero Best Jeanist, while to his left is his friend bully Bakugo. They're on the sidewalk now walking towards an elementary school not far ahead. Bakugo is wearing a dressed-down version of his hero costume, which lacks the main component that allows him to stand out, the big gauntlets shaped like grenades. He still has the attachments that would hold them in place along with his black top. The adult hero looks back behind at Izuku, asking him a prudent question. Why do you wear a mask? I'm not approved for the DA until I get all my recommendations. And until then I'm still just a vigilante, he replies, looking at his hands where his web shooters are. As if satisfied with that answer, he turns forward to face their destination. Meanwhile, Izuku looks over at Bakugo, who remains keeping that eternal glare on him. Now he has to deal with this. What the hell are you doing here? He shouts in a demanding bark. I can earn a professional license with an apprenticeship, but I need 5 heroes to give the okay for it. I mean, why are you here? He practically shouts this. Of all the places you could have gone, it had to be where I was. No one else in Musatafu would do it. I have to expand my horizon and find others, he tells him while he continues walking. The group stops at a red light, which allows Best Jeanist the opportunity to ask a question. My fellow heroes and Spider-Man, this causes a flinch in Izuku's mask, why exactly do we go on patrols? Before the others could answer, Bakugo makes his response. It lets us react to bad guys first. Incorrect, says the adult, cupping his face. The light turns green, allowing them to cross over to the next block. Izuku flinches at that answer, surprised at first. He also thought being the first response was the main point of patrols. It's why he does it anyway. What more is there that he's missing? Passing on to the next block, a collection of teenage girls can be heard squealing. It's Best Jeanist. One of them says as they start taking pictures. First bit of info, says the 4th best hero as he waves to the girls cheering him on. You don't always need to seek out criminals to make the world a better place. A hero's presence is enough to deter crime, so sometimes it's enough to help your community to just be there for them, to show them that this is indeed a friendly neighborhood. Hearing this, Izuku cups his chin as he examines Best Jeanist with curiosity. Essentially, just by being out and about promotes a strong public image. Know this, Spider-Man and Bakugo, heroes and villains are two sides of the same coin. If you want to be a true hero, then prove that you can be more than a warrior. These words continue to plague Izuku's mind as they continue their trek to the elementary school the pro is scheduled to be at. Thinking about it, it's a good idea that he is taking this apprenticeship because that's some good advice. Eventually, they reach the designated location, Korusuka Elementary. A teacher comes up approaching the pro hero, who converses with her leaving Bakugo and Izuku alone. A minute of awkwardness collects around them before he returns, and he says, "Bakugo, let's go. Your training will continue here." "Got it," he states with a scowl, walking up towards the school. Izuku points to himself waiting for his cue. "Spider-Man, you'll wait around the playground and watch Bakugo interact with children. Afterward, you'll put your hands in and show me what you can do." But those words, Izuku takes a back seat as he watches Bakugo and Best Jeanist go to work. After reaching the playground, he watches with awe at his rival bully going to work. Maybe with that hair of his the way it is it'll mark a change. Oh hey, it's him. Some kids go over to Bakugo pointing at him. "I saw him on TV before." Izuku stands out the sidelines away from everything, with expectations about to be met with Bakugo's next action. With the time he's spent with Best Joist, Bakugo must be ready to put his knowledge to the test. They probably know him from the sports festival and are big fans. He was all drenched in slime and stuff and kept crying. Oh. Bakugo's hair explodes back into spikes before he turns around screaming, "The fuck did you say to me?" Almost immediately, the kids start crying, their faces exposing tears, sweat, and snot. "You really have forgotten what I've told you, haven't you?" says the pro hero loudly over at the sidelines. Correcting himself, Bakugo steps over with pride in his steps. That angry look hasn't diminished, and neither has their fear. "Now look, I wasn't helpless and crying. I was just coming up with a new plan of action. Sometimes a hero has to pretend he's been caught." He stabs his head further to emphasize his punctuation. "You think I would lose? You dumb brats are gonna eat those words when I'm the #1 hero." He then goes full exploding nuke on them. "You're gonna regret ever making fun of me." And like a broken dam, they all cry to a point where one would think they'd dehydrated. Izuku watches his struggle, seeing that now his former bully is stuck unable to do anything about what he just caused. After that unfortunate fiasco, Izuku watches as more kids come out to play with Bakugo. But as he keeps vigilance over the children, he notices a small group ganging up on a single kid and pushing him to the ground. After a flashback, Izuku turns to Bakugo expecting him to stop it. But, knowing his exact character, he'd probably just watch. He'd let it happen. "Now is your cue, Spider-Man," says Best Jeanist to Izuku as he gestures to the scene. Excited, he bends his legs to launch high over the fence blocking him from the school, landing right in the center of the area. He then walks over to the kids, anticipating what he is to say. "Hey, not so rough there." His presence gets them to stop their innocent yet cruel actions. Upon notice, the children each go wide-eyed smiling at him. "It's Spider-Man. Spider-Man." Another kid shouts as they all turn their eyes in awe to him. Izuku scratches the back of his head sheepishly, looking down at his adoring fans. He's never really dealt with kids before, and copying Kaken isn't going to work here. What would All Might do? Thinking, he smiles before crouching down, bending his knees, glancing over at the boy they were just picking on just now. "Now, what were you guys playing? Heroes and villains?" Was he the villain? Izuku glances over at the boy they were picking on. Another kid, one with fox ears and a tail, points over at the kid who's now crying. "We all took a vote and everyone picked Taro as the bad guy. So he's the guy we're supposed to beat up." For a strange reason, something in him twitches. That is the exact kind of game he would suffer under back when he was a kid, getting beaten up by his former friends because he lacked a quirk. Regardless of whether this Taro kid had one or not, he needs to say something. Did you at least ask him if he wanted to play? At that, the kids look among each other without a clue in the world. That answers his question. Do all of you wish to be heroes? Almost unanimously, they cheer a yes. That makes this easier for him. Don't you think it's wrong to use your quirks to beat up someone who doesn't want to fight? A hero wouldn't act so irresponsibly. The kids look amongst themselves taking in the advice, both Kaken and Best Jeanist, watching his interaction with the children. The latter's face has the most unreadable expression, while the former's is that of a scowling prude. This changes when one kid, the one with the silver fox features, speaks up. "But Mr. Spider-Man, aren't you also wrong? My mom says using quirks without a license in public makes you a bad guy, so you're more irresponsible than us. You can't tell us we're wrong." The sharp answer stabs his heart, causing him to tilt his head to a diagonal right. Best Jeanist closes his eyes in response to that answer, while Kakin has the greatest shit-eating grin, fully agreeing with the kid. How Spider-Man answers that will show if he can truly be a hero. Though as he looks at the kid, he can get a feel of who exactly is his mother, the same person who's been flaming the hell out of him since the start of his career. But no need to focus on that, she is an issue he'll prove wrong once he achieves this apprenticeship. Right now he needs to properly answer. Well, you're not wrong. I guess one can say I'm a hypocrite for telling you you're bad for using your quirks irresponsibly. But just because I have no right to tell you doesn't mean what I'm saying is wrong. Being a hero to me means more than just following the law, but protecting those who can't protect themselves, or that's what it means to me anyway. With power comes responsibility. Sheepishly, he scratches his head again, wondering if he said something wrong. That is how he justifies his illegal actions after all, yet at the same time he doesn't want them to do the same, thinking it's perfectly okay. Following up, he adds, I mean, All Might doesn't need to gang up on a villain to defeat him. The children look among each other as they think about what he said, realizing he gave a point that makes sense to them in their way. But what if a bunch of villains gangs up on one hero? Then fight back the same way. I hope it never happens to me. Elsewhere. The cloaked figure steps out from the train station, his right eye looking around at all the fresh meat in sight. Alright. The game's still going. Let's see how many people wearing black I can take out. Ready to continue his game, he storms forth with a murderous grin into Kantoi City. Back to action. I gotcha. Izuku pulls back tightly, causing his net which is attached to the gate to tighten up. The kids land and bounce on the dry webbing. Each of them laughs as they continue to bounce on his makeshift trampoline. Looking at the joy on their faces brings Izuku to smile as well, especially considering the suggestion for his web shooters that he requested May to do worked out perfectly. Now he can make things out of his webbing instead of just cocoons and strings. His versatility went up. After a while, Izuku lets the kids off and releases his hold on the net, and soon enough, the throng of sprouts start crowding him. As they talk and ask him things, including his secret identity, he takes notice of the soul child that isn't with anyone. Not just him, but this kid isolates himself from Best Jeanist and Bakugo as well. While the former makes sense, for him to avoid all of them is strange. The child wears a red cap with a triceratops horns on them, along with a black shirt and maroon shorts. He wears black boots as well. Unlike the others who can be classified as happy, shy, or sad, the face this one has is more resentful. Those hateful eyes of his seem to be focused on him most, which is strange because this is the first time he's come here. Maybe he can change that. Hey, you over there. He shouts out, waving to the aged toddler out in the corner. He gives a stare back before turning around to stare into space. One of the children notices who he's calling to and speaks. Oh, just ignore Kota. He doesn't talk to anyone and he hates heroes. He does. Izuku says to himself, glancing back at him. Though when he hears that name, something in his memory banks awakens. He quickly asks himself why he feels he heard that name before. Alright, kids. Inside. Says the teacher, getting a responsive boo from the majority. Reluctantly, they go inside anyway to resume their studies. Izuku watches as they leave, before turning his eyes to the wandering Bakugo and then Best Jeanist. The pro hero comes over to the emerald protagonist. That went better than I expected. Yeah, thanks for getting me into this. Lately, all I've been so focusing on are serious crimes ever since I fought Trapezius. I completely forgot about the other stuff I did before. Just remember that there is more to being a hero than fighting, Best Jeanist says while eyeing him, and that you're not alone in protecting others. But Bakugo, he's wandered over to the front of the school with a prideful scowl. Fucking nerd, who the hell would want him to be a hero? He throws a swipe in the air, making an explosion out of rage. Pausing for a moment, he stops when it hits him. A sudden and intense desire to kill. Turning around, Bakugo faces the source of his fears, where he bears witness to him. He stands tall at 6'5" feet wearing a dark blue cloak that completely masks his appearance. Despite his size, the only one who's giving him notice is Bakugo. The game is still going. He walks forward for 2 steps before exploding forth. His right arm extends out as he prepares to swipe him. Bakugo shoots an explosion underneath him, sending him overhead, spinning in midair forward. Upside down in the air, he aims his hands out to his attacker, who quickly removes his cloak. Die. With a release of his quirk, he blasts the big guy, covering him in smoke and alerting everyone of what's going on. Bakugo, with that bloodthirsty grin on his face, lands just 5 feet away from his target and then says, "You picked a bad time to attack, fucker. 'Cause I'm about to fist you up the elbow." He then charges forth to slap his explosions onto his attacker. This action is voided when 2 hands shoot out from the smoke and grasp his wrists. Even as the explosions go off, they remain in place along with the owner. No matter how much he pulls, he can't break free of these vice grip arms. The smoke starts to lift, and slowly but surely, Bakugo's face changes from confident and triumphant to fearful for the first time in forever. The smoke clear starts with the arms, showing the villain's arms are covered in pink and red flesh. His face is next, which shows a bloodthirsty, malefic teeth-baring grin that outclasses one shown previously. Ooh, you're strong too. I like these hands of yours. What follows after can be described as the sounds of ripping meat, liquid splattering against the pavement, and ungodly screams. They're mine now. Chapter 19. Hakken. Izuku web zips onto the scene, landing atop the gate just above his rival. Looking down he gains an eyeful of Bakugo, who lies on the concrete bleeding from his wrists. That is because he only sees wrists, his hands, or one of them, can be seen as nothing more than just a blood-covered fleshy mess. Immediately distraught and disturbed, he gazes upon the person responsible. He's a red tank top wearing brawler of a man wearing black sweats with boots. He has blonde hair similar to Bakugo, almost exactly like Bakugo, with one blue eye on the right. The left is a scarred mess running up past the brow with a false eye implanted. All the while he wears red stains and a bloodthirsty smile along with his meat over his arms and upper body. Coming out of his fear, Izuku lunges forth to slug him in the face. His fist gets caught by his right hand, the spider vigilante realizing just how strong this muscle man is. How could you do that to him? He's just a kid. So? The intense rage inside of our emerald protagonist explodes at that callous response. Pulling his arm back he stabs his foot up this muscular man's chin. As the blow connects, that bulky fist of his punches Izuku in his chest. Izuku coughs in his mask as the wind is quickly taken out of him, falling on his back on the concrete with a heavy thud. This is followed by a strong punch that smashes him further into the white stone floor, cracking the ground and sending him deeper. He then grabs his left leg lifting him before painfully punching him in the face and stomach. As Izuku groans in pain, he is then thrown up into one of the school's windows, his body left hanging just inside. Most of his muscles retreat into his body afterward as he laughs licking his lips of the blood oozing off him. I'm gonna enjoy hunting you, but right now I'm only after people wearing black. Feel free to stop me when my next game begins. Bakugo grudgingly pushes himself up using his handless arms. I'm gonna fucking kill you. I swear it. What's that, brat? I can't hear you. Try sign language. Taunts the muscular villain holding a hand to his ear. Not his hand though. Crushing that same hand he tosses it over at its owner before walking over to his cloak. He reaches down to grab it, only for the item to be snagged away like a fish caught in a line. Hey. He follows after his fleeting cloak. Spider-Man groans as he begins to recover from the massive damage he's slowly starting to heal from, sitting up in the window he's been thrown into while rubbing his head. Never has he been so inefficient in defeating someone. Who was that guy? S-Genist finally comes just in time to see the damage caused by the fight. Bakugo. Back with the villain, he chases his cloak to a nearby alley where it drops on top of a trash can. He manages to grab it, finding that it's hooked to an actual lure. What's this for? It's a trap, you idiot. A figure lands on the concrete just a few feet in front of him. Getting a good look he sees it's a woman dressed in black spandex. Her vibrant white hair revealed in the light, he sees the black cat. But unlike with Spider-Man, she doesn't show a playful sexy side. She looks ready for war. You've been using this cloak to hide. It must have some technology to completely mask your appearance, which is how you're able to escape whenever you kill people. The first time anyone's ever lured me into a trap with the perfect matchup for my game. The former pro heroine leaps forward firing a needle from her pistol, screaming, muscular. Seeing it way ahead of time, the villain dips his head to the left, smiling with murderous intent. Black Cat spins to perform an axe kick to his exposed neck, her normally taciturn expression showing pure hatred and rage. She pulls out of her attack flipping herself into a cartwheel to gain distance, all while Muscular remains standing in that position. I'll make you pay for what you did to them. She then takes out a small blue ball and throws it at him. His muscles extract out from his body quickly, wrapping around his arms and legs, and in the blink of an eye he dashes at her full force, a speed she was in no way ready to handle. He bursts through the blue ball and the green gas that explodes from it upon impact. His right hand grips her throat as he slams her into the brick wall behind her. Clear and red liquid ejects from her mouth onto his face as he smiles. She commences kicking and clawing her opponent to break free to no effect. He then asks, "Do I know you?" "You should." She chokes out, a more clear liquid coming from her eyes. "You killed my brother-in-law and sister. You broke Tomoko's leg and ripped it off. I'll never forgive you." Muscular drops his smile before pulling his left arm back to slam it into her stomach. More crimson stains his body before he drops her onto the pavement. His left foot plants into her stomach, turning the blur in her eyes to spread farther. The thing that makes me angry the most is when people can't follow through with their words. He then takes a knee grabbing her by the hair. I hate people like you the most. Pulling, he ends up ripping off her wig and exposing her true appearance. Huh. Wait, he leans his head in to get a good look. You do kind of look familiar. He quickly pulls away, avoiding her claws that narrowly nick his chin. I'll trim those claws of yours the next time you come at me. But right now, his watch beeps, the game's over. It's time to reward myself. With a lift of his cloak, he quickly masks himself before going on a run out the alleyway. As he leaves, Black Cat sits herself up, leaning against the concrete wall, wiping the blood coming down her lips. She lies there, facing up, staring at the uncaring sky, eyes closed as she hears footsteps approaching. Elsewhere. Momo cries out as she's flung across the room. She lands and slides along the padded floor before rolling face down. She groans before punching the ground and getting back up. Sadly, her opponent pins her back down on her throat with the application of her foot. Standing above her is the rabid heroine Mirko, dressed in not a uniform, but a doughy. Foot pressed into Momo, she smirks. You know, when I offered this internship to you, I thought I would regret this. But, you're keeping up with me so well. Mirko pulls her foot away and lifts the girl. Why did you then? Asks Momo, looking into the rabbit girl's eyes. Your quirk lets you make whatever you want, and you already have a handle on what you need to do with it, which is why I offered to bring you into my service. She stands tall now before turning away and thrusting a back kick that stops just in front of Momo's face. She flinches and falls back on her behind. To build your body and work on your reaction speed. Momo looks up in shock at her trainer. And I get to test my strength against Ocelite. It's a win-win. She sighs through her nostrils before getting back up. Well, she didn't come here to look pretty. Mirko then asks, why did you choose me out of everyone? I need to get stronger as soon as possible to better use this shield. She glances at the circular shield behind her, which has been recolored to be mostly red with a golden star containing a Matryoshka doll in her image. And when I researched you, I found you have battled many villains and taken them down single-handedly. Oh, flattery will get you nowhere, is what the rabbit woman says, while flicking her Iris-like hair, though is smiling like crazy. And why do you seek strength? The stronger I become, the sooner I can help him. Him? The red rich girl flinches at that, realizing she's speaking aloud now. That's usually Izuku's problem. As if some spectral deity was answering her prayers, a distraction arrives in the form of her phone going off. She quickly checks it, only for her to mouth speak of the devil and answer. Hello. She says cheerfully, turning away from Mirko, who gets curious now. Her mood reverting to melancholic as he speaks. What? Bakugo's been hurt. Later. Time to reward me. Muscular says as he grabs a parfait. Here at a quiet cafe far away from the destruction he caused, he prepares to chow down onto it, scooping up a bloody strawberry. Only for his spoon and dessert to disappear from his eyes. What hey? Quickly checking the path of its travel, he spots his dessert in white-gloved hands. The person holding it hands it over to him without a fuss, before taking out an iPad or whatever it is. Turning it on, the image shows a person with a hand on his face. Oh, it's you. What do you want? You're famous. He places a hand onto the screen, which shows a video. There, in a blue portion, reads Yoko Terasu as she speaks about events being shown in a video. Their Muscular is fighting off Spider-Man. Here in Kantoi, we've had a villain near an elementary school. Proving that lawbreakers have no decency and never will, a villain has attacked this location. After comparing pictures, we have determined this man to be the A-class villain and multiple murderer Muscular. Aw, they got my bad side, says the Muscular villain as he pats his left eye area. No harm was done to the children, but we do have an injured hero in training whose name we have omitted for private reasons. Well, this is a sad moment. It has come to my attention that Musatafu's vigilante Spider-Man has been seen here. And here I have to ask, what do you think is weirder? Spider-Man being here at this exact time and place, or Spider-Man fighting this monster who has easily killed and paralyzed even professionals and coming out without a scratch? If you needed proof that he may be in league with villains, here are some speculations. How dare he get close to the school where my son goes? After that, she goes into a rage-filled rant before the screen disappears. The villain on the screen says, seeing that, it gives me an idea for you. You can still play that game if you wish. Whatever. I still owe you for this cloak. Whose skull should I stomp into the curb? Elsewhere. Here in Best Jeanist's office, we find a collection of heroes. The Thread Hero himself, a woman with dark skin and rabbit features, Uwabami, and Manuel. The Water Hero holds up a picture of the target. Muscular. Real name is unknown. 200 centimeters in height. 342 pounds in weight. Quirk, muscle augmentation. He closes his eyes before placing the photo back on the table. It's him. This man matches the same description as the one who attacked Ingenium. I can't believe we've run into him this quick. Thanks for responding so soon, by the way, Manuel, says Best Jeanist as he looks down at the photo. Even as compassed as he usually is, he is rather put off having to see this murderous asshole's unlikable grin. What is his motive for coming here? He doesn't have one, says a new voice coming into the room. All 4 sets of eyes turn to see Black Cat approaching them. "Oh, Sasaki," says the rabbit lady with a cocky grin. "Didn't think I'd see you again. How's the nightlife?" She quickly bares her teeth at her, saying, "Shut it, Mirko," before turning to the rest of them. "In my career, I've been tracking him more than any other villain. He possesses a cloak that allows him to mask his appearance and hide in plain sight. He only reveals himself when he wants to play his game." "Game?" asks the number 4 hero. BC's eyes narrowed in rage. That's what he does. He travels from city to city so he can kill, maim, or defeat as many people of a certain characteristic in a certain time frame as he can. People who wear sunglasses, kids with animal quirks, married couples. Her voice trembles at that last characteristic. If he wins, he rewards himself. If he loses, he punishes himself. All of this continues in an endless cycle that he alone plays. Why is a reason I have yet to determine. He's probably just a sadist, says Mirko, a valid reason they all can nod to. We don't need to team up and share credit for this bastard. I'm more than enough to handle him myself. Putting her foot down, Black Cat turns her hate-filled eyes to the rabbit girl. Don't even think about it. My team was beaten into retirement because of him. You wouldn't last a minute against him. Waving her hand, Mirko expresses clear disinterest in her statement. An unflinching confident expression can be found on her face. That's because you got soft relying on others like a bunch of shounen protagonists instead of improving yourselves. Now look here, snakes snake in from Uwabami's head, causing the two to separate. Let's not go diving into the past, shall we? Says Manuel in hopes to cull the aggression. What is it with outgoing women and Mandalay getting into fights? The lady in black takes out a sheet of paper and slams it onto the table. I have a plan to trap and capture him, but it requires the help of everyone involved. You may think you can fight him alone, but you'll never even find him without the marker I left on him that Uwabami can track even with his cloak on. As they go through their plan, their sidekicks and interns can be seen in the room off on the side. Notable members are Momo, Kendo, Iida, and Jiro. Iida sits in a lounge chair sighing. Bakugo too, first my brother, now him. Momo looks around with worry. If Izuku found out, he'd feel even worse. After a bit of discussion, the 5 heroes stay in at BJ's agency, as until they're ready they'd be easily picked off alone. The interns from UA all sit together in the lounge area of BJ's agency. Jiro sits next to Momo, some form of awkwardness building up between the two friends. The purple-haired girl looks over at her class representative, who notices her and smiles back. What to say? I don't want to talk about Bakugo's predicament. Momo holds her face while thinking over their situation. Any thoughts on Bakugo and what happened to him would only make her smile. So how's Mirko's? Asks Kendo, looking at the 2 girls from A. Terrible. Day in and day out she makes me work out. I feel too sore to bend my knees at times, Jiro tells her, hidden anger unleashed at her pro-hero. I should have picked Death Arms. I'm glad being with Mirko too, Momo replies with a sigh. I wish I had her, Kendo speaks, shaking her head thinking about what Uwabami has put her through. All we seem to do are photo ops and do commercials. She sighs, shrugging. When it comes right down to it, she requested me for my looks. Jiro's eyes narrow as she glances down at her body. Her cheeks become apples as she sighs. Wish she picked me. Huh? I mean, I guess this is one of those grass is tastier things. You mean the grass is greener? Not in Duel Monsters. She then laughs. Kendo turns to Momo, saying, you'd probably be amazing there too, Yaoi Rozu. The rich girl shakes her head as she leans back in her seat. If I wanted to be gawked, I'd join my mother's practice and make millions like her. Jiro glances back at her friend, eyes half closed when she realizes she's shoving how rich she is in her face. She then says, I bet Midoriya would like it if you looked pretty. Glancing on the side to look at Momo, she quickly spots her slowly rising cheeks that turn as red as her hero costume. Her face then gains this bouncy look to it. Well, I guess it probably wouldn't have been so bad. Seeing her expression, Jiro sighs before looking aside. She then takes out her phone, gawking at a photo of Spiderman. Nice substitute. Outside, Black Cat steps outside of the agency to the front step. Once she's out, she adjusts her mask to wipe away sweat. Are you okay? Asks a voice from up above. Glancing up, the bad luck kitty spots Izuku fully dressed in his costume coming out of his camouflage state. Sighing, she replies, I'm fine. He lands just next to her in a crouch. How can I help? You can't help, she says to him, clear and cut. You're still technically a vigilante, and having you involved will take away public trust. Plus, aside from Best Jeanist, everyone in that room would arrest you. She notes his disappointed head drop. But that's just on the official records. Your involvement is very important, mostly in case we fail. She then walks over to the inside, stumbling and dropping to a knee. Spider-Man catches her before she could hit the ground, holding her up with ease. "You're hurt." "I'm fine," she shouts back, storming back inside the building. Izuku watches as the older woman enters, leaving him alone in the approaching dusk of 9 p.m. She's a professional heroine, so she can handle this herself is what he says, before scuffing, but that hasn't stopped me before. I can at least stick around to watch. While waiting, Izuku checks his phone when he gets a vibration behind him. Pulling his phone out, he raises it to his lenses. This syncs his device with his visors and shows All Might's phone number. With an internal thank you to Hatsune, he raises his hand to his earpiece inside the mask to answer. "Hello? Midoriya. I am far away, but still am here," shouts Toshinori on the other line. He holds his tongue before exposing who it is on the other line. The previous him would have done so. Though he does want to know why he still does that here thing when he's not even around him. "Yagi-san, what brings you to my phone?" "I wanted to check on your progress. I'm currently overseas right now, so I can't check on you in person." "Well, I have, hopefully, 2 recommendations. I'm kind of having trouble finding people who don't hate me. I can help you with that." I know there's a pause. "I know 2 people who could. What's wrong? Who could help?" For a seriously not odd or even strange reason, if the way he spoke was any indication, he's not convinced. "Can they?" "I'm sure if I can last the conversation, it's as if All Might is doing everything in his power to make him fear these people he's about to mention, because he's not even sure he wants to see them again. I'll text you their information." What the hell happened between him and them? But, while he's here he might as well ask him some advice. Recent events have made him think. "So, Yagi-san, have you ever had trouble on the job?" "Trouble? Well, I'd be lying if I said I didn't. Girls sometimes get in the way as I work." "I meant in failure." That stops him short. "Have you ever failed to save someone?" There's a long pause on the other end. "Of course I have. There are times where I've failed to save someone. Even right now someone could be in trouble. Every time I think about it, it hurts." On the other end, Yagi in his less than impressive state stares up at a ceiling deep in thought. "In the end, we're all only human. Our arms can only go so far from our bodies." He closes his eyes. "That's why I stand with a smile. A symbol of peace exists for others." He lights the flames of right and wrong in the hearts of heroes, the people, and even villains. It's something you must learn and accept in your heart as well if you are to become a symbol of peace too. "I see, thank you." He turns off his phone at that, already deep in thought. For heroes and villains. Back with All Might, he stares out the window watching the outlandish sight before him. "Was that him?" "Yeah." "Then, does he know about your condition?" "Of course, David." He turns around to face the other man talking, a scientist his age with brown hair including a mustache. All Might approaches his friend handing over a vial. Inside of it is a deceased green spider. "Tomorrow." The man walks about dressed in a dark blue cloak. A side glance to his left side shows he's muscular, yet no one else seems to notice. Except for a sneaky and secretive Uwabami sneaking up on him. Dressed in a hoodie and slacks, she stands out just as less as him, the only indication that she's a hero being the occasional peeking out of her snakeheads. Her reptilian hair follicles follow after Muscular as he blends into the crowd walking by, noticing no one on high alert, despite the dangerous criminal being loose since yesterday. The muscular villain makes a stop before groaning with annoyance. "Let's see, where's that school?" He glances up at the street sign and crosses to the other side, his tracker still far behind blending in. Eventually, he comes to a stop noticing Kantoy Elementary just in his sights. He grins before pulling off his cloak, revealing his hideous scar and bloodthirsty smile. "I just got a rampage, don't I?" "Not so fast." These words grasp his attention in just enough time. Craning his head diagonally upward, he spots the person who called out to him. Ascending from above is the White Moon Rabbit heroine, Mirko. She comes down with a mighty dropkick to Muscular, who raises his arms already covered in his bloody, wormy muscle tendrils. Her destructive kick breaks the foundation Muscular stands upon, but that's it. Not even a budge, he remains standing holding her back without breaking a sweat. The excitement in his smile, he eyes her with his soul real one before pushing him back far. He doesn't care about how or why she's able to catch him, evident as he says, "I'm going to enjoy this." "Oh, I bet you would." "Me too," she says, raising her hands to prepare for battle. But, she's calling the shots for now. As he pauses to attempt to understand exactly what she meant, his cloak is ripped away from its holding place and hoisted high up in the air. Courtesy of Best Jeanist standing far off on the other side of the street. Exposed, the villain's soul eye twitches looking around to see 4 heroes surrounding him. Manuel, the now exposed Uwabami, Best Jeanist, and Mirko. He spots a group of other heroes escorting people away from the scene, many screaming. Except for one in white. He's just giving him a dirty look, or he assumes so. The helmet obscures his face. Up top a building, Spider-Man can be seen leaning his back onto the side of it. Arms crossed yet at the ready, he watches the fight begin through his squinting lenses. I won't get involved unless I have to. Muscular raises his arms to block a shot of water that hits him in the face. I'm not losing another eye to water. He then powers through, rushing for Manuel, the pro hero flinching as he approaches. The bodybuilder stops when threads hold onto him, pulling the villain from behind. Genist pulls hard as he tries to keep him locked, barely holding still. Muscular corrects this mistake of his by grabbing his threads and pulling, heaving the Gene hero in the air. The pro releases his hold and ends up flying as a result. Before hitting a building, Mirko jumps up and catches him just in time. This momentary distraction allows a needle to fly across the air and hit Muscular in the back of his neck. A strained groan releases from his lips as he drops down to a knee. Black Cat then drops to the scene using a whip rope, on arm aimed out. Gotcha, this muscle relaxer was made specifically for power types like yourself. You won't be able to move for 14 minutes. Why only 14? Mirko turns to BC at that. I didn't exactly make it. Though she says this, she notices that Muscular is trying to move and succeeding. Best Genist, contain him. That was a rousing success. I was kind of worried, says the fourth best hero as he prepares to use his quirk. From above, Izuku watches with humongous relief, seeing the heroes have successfully stopped the villain. There is no need for him to take action. All he needs to do is watch Best Genist tie him up. Before he could, a figure makes a landing just down next to Muscular. All eyes go to this new addition as this person reveals itself to be an 8-armed monstrosity. This monster with green fur and its 8 eyes staring out at the populace, snarls baring its fangs as it stands tall over even the crouching Muscular. What the hell is that? Shouts Manuel when he sees the monster. Genist narrows his eyes as he notices the exposed brain on its head. Wait. Izuku notes it as well and realizes that it matches the description of the monster on the news that attacked UA alongside the villain alliance. There are more of him, or it. The Namu crouches downward, exposing its back. From it crawls out several limbs similar to its own, as well as bodies attached to them. These lighter-skinned versions of this spider Namu jump out and attack the heroes. Whoa. Manuel uses a blast of water to fight. The Namu he's up against pushes through and claws him in the face, knocking off his helmet. Mirko hops back, bouncing on her feet as she faces her opponent. Using her skill, she's able to outpace it before kicking it in the stomach. Genist and Uwabami back away as they come back their opponents. Recognizing these things from the USJ event, they start putting together theories surrounding Muscular and the villain alliance. Black Cat looks around at the unfolding chaos, some of the Namu going off to attack whoever their eyes lay upon. No, this can't be. That was a hell of a plan you did. The Catwoman turns around, to her horror, to see Muscular standing, towering over her with malice. He quickly backhands her, a sloppy move that only makes her tumble backward. He then grabs hold of her throat. I don't know what's going on with the spider freaks, but it's good that they showed up. My muscles aren't up to snob, but I can still crush you. Let's see some blood, pussycat. Mandalay cries out as her throat tightens. Get off of her. Coming down in a swing, Izuku kicks Muscular in the face, knocking his grip loose. She drops down to her knees while the spider rolls into a crouching position, turning his eyes to his opponent with one arm free. Recovering from near death, Black Cat coughs as she glares at her savior. Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Shouts Best Genist. The others notice the friendly neighborhood spider, including Momo, who smiles with relief. Spider-Man. This is Muscular. I've been waiting for you. The plan won't work unless you're around. He wraps his muscles around his body and pushes himself forth, throwing a mighty punch. The spider jumps high up backward, avoiding the meaty fist strong enough to break through the concrete ground. Izuku lands on top of the school gate outside of the street and is immediately pursued. Whoa. He jumps away, web swinging to keep the high ground advantage as his opponent gives chase. Somebody stop! Black Cat chokes this out before stopping when nothing left can come out. I'll go. Iida shouts before he charges forth, engine fumes erupting from his legs. While in the air, Izuku looks around before landing atop the transit station rooftop where passengers wait for the train. His ears pick up one coming. Alright, so the plan didn't work when those things arrived. But maybe I can. Spider sense starts to tingle. Not but a second later, he jumps up in the air, avoiding a punch that demolishes the roof he once stood on. Their Muscular can be seen, who raises an arm to grasp his leg and throw him away into the tracks. Groaning as he gets back up, Izuku starts to mentally contemplate his opponent's speed and strength better than before. Izuku hits the train top painfully, rolling along the metal roof before using his powers to stop and stick to the surface. Forcing himself to stand, he stares up in time to spot Muscular landing on the train car in front of him. Why are you doing this? Why are you going around killing people, making life hard for everyone else? Do you really hate Black Cat's family that much? Izuku shouts as he pushes himself up. Hate? That statement surprises Izuku, for reasons he doesn't even get himself. Why would I hate her? You killed Mandalay's sister and brother and attacked her friends, and now you've attacked her twice. He recalls back to last night seeing Black Cat's condition. Is this all revenge for what they did to your face? The muscular monster scoffs at his statement. What are you, a kid? You think this is out of revenge or something? He then points to his eye. I don't do the whole blaming thing, like how I never blamed those people for the loss of my eye, no hatred, no grudge. I was after married couples, so we fought and did our best, and whatever the result, we would deal with it. That sets off something in Izuku, a dark emotion inside of the spider's heart billowing up inside of him that he only felt once before. You mean to tell me you killed Kota's parents? Because it was fun. Muscular bares his teeth in horrific laughter, slapping his knees at his apparent joy. I killed them because they were all a part of my game, and I succeeded. The only thing that I hate is when people can't put their money where their mouths are and die so pathetically. He places a hand to his chest and grins, sliding his hand down his chest, as if carving a claw mark. Like that little bastard's mommy and daddy who couldn't even protect themselves. Do you get it now? Enraged, Spider-Man pushes himself back to 2 feet, eyes glaring through his visors. Of course I do. He fires a line at Muscular's face, a move he catches by grabbing it with his hand. The muscle man then releases his inner meat around his arm to pull Izuku off the metal straight for him. The spider takes this opportunity to flip in the air, dodging an incoming fist covered in flesh, and land behind him. Muscular swipes back to knock him away, but Izuku backflips and kicks the villain in his jaw. Using the momentum of the flip, he puts himself back on 2 feet, pushing enough to launch back onto the other car to gain distance. I get that you're just another bully. I get that you are the worst person I've ever met. I get that as long as you're around, no one can enjoy their peaceful everyday lives, you psychopath. Muscular laughs at his statement before storming forth towards Izuku, who takes a kneeling position. What are you doing? Get up. The villain couldn't finish before a sign attached to over the rails hits him in the back. As it breaks apart and he loses balance, Izuku jumps forth and knees him in the face to take advantage. He then flips over behind him, landing on the next car. The successful strike causes blood to drip down his nose, and Muscular stumbles backward with a great loss of balance. Izuku flips behind him after his strike, his heart skipping a beat when his left leg gets caught by the muscle tendrils on his hand. The muscle man slams Izuku hard into the roof before repeating it several numbers of times. Even when he tries to use webs to pull free, they're ripped from his grasps by his overwhelming strength. Muscular takes the moment to stop this by throwing him to the left of the vehicle. Our emerald protagonist, unfortunately, gets smashed into the front car of the train coming the opposite way. I still have enough time to complete the game. The villain looks on to see the spider making a recovery and web swinging after him. Spider-Man lands just in front of him. The game's still going, but you've more than earned the right to play at the highest level. Muscular pulls out a case from his pocket and removes the false eye on his left socket. So from now on, whenever I see you, I'll do you the courtesy and show you the respect you deserve. He then places a new eye where his empty socket is. And use my serious eye. Elsewhere. Inko Midoriya sits on her couch as the television plays before her. This is live happening in Kantoi City. Live footage can be seen showing on the television, where a helicopter flies over a train going through the subdivision of Tokyo. After escaping heroes who have banded together to stop him, Muscular is atop the 441 stalled by Musatafu's vigilante Spider-Man. But it doesn't look like he's going to hold for long. Oh my god. Can we show that on TV? But they did, and she saw. No, they saw. Inko turns off the television and sits up from her seat. What did you say your name was? I don't have one. You really want to do this? Of course I do. You do as well. Her entire body becomes shrouded in darkness. Anyone who disturbs this feeling will suffer. Chapter 20. Watch out from above. Shouts Manuel as he dives, pushing away a civilian caught in the danger. The two effectively evade debris from the building above, landing down on them. I gotcha now. This comes from Mirko as she descends from a building and flips into a downward kick. Her descent smashes into a white spider Namu, leaving nothing left but pieces of it. She pulls out from the mini crater she made with a hop, landing on level ground while keeping a hop in her stance. That was relatively easy. The jean-wearing hero gets pushed into a wall by the darker, furrier spider Namu. After a bounce off the concrete, he gets covered in some sticky white substance coming out of its wrists. I figured it would fire webs. Black Cat, on her knees stepping atop a deceased white Namu while holding her throat, glares ahead at the monster that pinned down Best Jeanist. It's the one that birthed these things, and its abilities are she takes out a shuriken and throws it at the monster from behind. The spider Naomu has its bottom left limb stretched back and grab the cat shuriken without looking. Being able to react to threats from behind, shooting webs, and the Naomu jumps high up on the wall above Best Jeanist, all 8 of its crimson eyes focusing on the cat lady. Clinging to walls. Aside from that fission splitting, they're all the same abilities Spider-Man has. Kind of makes you wonder why they have similar abilities, says Mirko as she lands next to the kitty. Doesn't matter the connection, I'll crush anyone under my feet. The Naomu colored white, numbered 3 left, come forth towards Black Cat and Mirko. The trio of spiders snarl baring their fangs under their exposed brain heads and charge at them. The 2 women prepare for battle. Flash fire fist jet burn. A burst of fire shoots forward, creating a wall of flames that catches a Naomu and separates the rest from Mirko and Black Cat. Its body turns to cinders in the wall of prominence. The pro and the former heroine turn to their left to where the flames came from, eyes widened in shock when they see the man responsible. You've cornered Muscular and yet let him go. Had you called me and we could have avoided this blunder. No one asked for you to show up, Endeavor, says the dark-skinned rabbit lady as she stops hopping up and down to cross her arms under her breasts. Noticing the new blood, the white Naomu turn to the flame hero before making their charge. From behind him multiple other heroes go running out and combat the lesser monsters. One of them is a blonde girl in a white costume who kicks one of the brain freaks in its metaphorical skull. Endeavor crosses his arms as he watches his sidekicks go to town on them before turning his eyes to the green spider watching them. It opens its mouth to shriek an unholy sound, exposing the rows of fangs it possesses before it lunges forth at him. He forms flames in his right hand in the form of a clenched fist, raising his other before the spider. He then punches forth, releasing the flames at the spider. It fires from its left wrists and pulls away from the direction of the blow, but not without cost. Its middle arm gets caught in the blaze. The Naomu crouches before ripping away that arm before the flames have a chance to spread across its dry fur body. Don't move so much. I'm sure you'd want a quick death. The Naomu snarls at him before crawling backward. As it does, a figure from out above in what he guesses is the skies lands in front of him. What the? This newcomer rises from the crouch it's making. Appearance-wise, this woman is a slender body type dressed head to toe in a bodysuit that leaves little to the imagination. It's mostly white up top with black being the prominent color from her feet up to the triangle lines going up to her breasts. Her white upper has what looks like a rip in the design that shows an inner web pattern on the pits of her elbows. The design of the pattern is neon cyan webs on a magenta spread. She also wears a neck collar that shares a similar pink color and a bleached face mask with pink circles for eyes, as well as a hoodie that has the same web pattern design. What the? The flame hero gives the girl a look over and groans. When he notices the web on her arms his eyes narrow. A spider web pattern, are you in league with Spider-Man? The woman pivots back to glance at the fallen Naomu. It nods before charging off. Wait. Endeavor charges more flames to blast it before he gets hit in the face by a white substance. He grabs the silk thread and ignites it, sending a trail toward the Spider-Woman. She releases the web from her palm and flips away. She then jumps up in the air dodging a kicking strike from Mirko. Damn it. She curses. The Spider-Woman lands next to some debris and passes her hands across them before making a run for it. Watching her, Endeavor has already fired a blast of flames in her direction. Not so fast. These flames are blocked off by the debris that has started to rise, forming a shield of stone. From the smoke and char created by the flame hero, she's left everyone's sight. Angered, Endeavor clenches his fists before going to Best Jeanist, still trying to pry himself from the webs. Where is Muscular? He ran after Spider-Man downtown. Go and help him, please. What? He shouts before igniting off the webs on him and ripping them off. That damn vigilante is everywhere, he turns an eye to Mirko. Hey Sailor Moon. Go after that Naomu. Don't call me that. She shouts before pumping her muscular legs to run in the direction of the monster that left earlier. Back to action. Speeding through the streets of Kantoi, the hero in training Tenya Ida can be seen blitzing through traffic. His leg engines roar as he sprints, taking a more desperate position in running than the usual jog style he so often fashions. Underneath his white helmet, his eyes occasionally glance up at the train tracks placed over the streets. He's up there. The man who ruined his family, who destroyed his brother, is upon those tracks getting away. And he's not gonna let him get away this time. Tenya, I didn't want to say this before. These words come from his memories of when he last spoke with his brother shortly after his injury. I can't feel my legs at all. These words make him go faster. I want you to take it when you're ready, take my name and let the world know who you are. I will, big brother, I will. Ida speeds past a group of people. Instead of apologizing, however, he simply brushes through them like a hand through second-hand smoke. This is a boy on a mission. To the action. Muscular's muscle fibers shoot out from his limbs and wrap around him. His pink body gleams for some odd reason in the bright daylight before the crouching red spider. Let's party. He rushes forth down the train towards Izuku. Once he reaches a decent length, he draws his left arm back, reeling a punch that the vigilante sees coming very clearly. As he studies Muscular and prepares to dodge, he immediately notices something the moment he jumps backward and avoids the meaty punch. He's slower, oh yeah. Mandalay's muscle relaxer needle. Izuku makes a landing on his left leg and pushes off the steel roof, dodging another one of his punches. Those tip darts of hers can freeze those assassins, so it's affecting him. Hold still, damn it. Muscular charges again with the intent to swipe his face from the left. Izuku runs forward and leans back to go into a slide. Like a serpent in the jungle, he slips right through the villain's offense by going between his legs. He goes a few feet away from Muscular before turning face down and hopping onto 2 feet. Now. He then lunges forth and extends his feet outward. The drop kick clocks Muscular in his jaw, knocking him slightly off balance. Though as Izuku curls his legs back and descends, Muscular quickly wraps his arms to his chest in a tight bear hug. Damn it. I gotcha now, bug boy. The pressure applies to his arms, squeezing Izuku by his abdomen. His arms are also locked in, preventing him from fighting back or slugging the guy in the jaw again. You're not getting out of this one. Great, muscles with motive. Izuku aims his hands out from his sides. Applying his squeeze, our emerald protagonist fires web lines out, attaching them to 2 of the buildings they've been passing by at the speed of rails. The attachment of strings causes Muscular to be pulled off of his footing and fly through the air. Izuku releases his grip on the webs as his hugger falls backward, denting into the train car roof. The impact is hard enough to release his grip on the spider, who kicks off his body high into the air. As the train goes forward, he makes a roll landing before getting into a crouching position. His meaty foe comes charging at him with a vile expression, his feet stomping into the metal roof as he moves at high speed. Izuku tenses his legs as he comes in closer, before jumping for him. He glances at his left to spot Muscular's right arm coming, and that would hit him. If he didn't see that coming. He fires a web line behind him from the left arm onto the car behind him, stopping his momentum. The fist just barely passes by his face at that, and he attaches a web line on it. Releasing the line keeping him to the bus, he uses the speed the arm is moving to pull himself to Muscular's left side. He then swings around his back, releasing the web line on that right arm once he's in the air at Muscular's 4 o'clock. From his right wrist, he fires a web line at Muscular's left shoulder as he turns looking for him and pulls himself in. Florida smash. He screams, landing a flying sidekick that clocks Muscular in his right cheek. Disoriented by the move, Muscular stumbles on his feet until finally falling off the speeding train. Spider-Man gives chase, leaping off the train and landing on the tracks. Though he lands safely, his opponent does not, being down on his legs that barely cushion his fall. Still, he picks himself up. How is he still getting back up? The villain clutches his face, feeling a small amount of moisture on his right cheek. All that for a drop of blood. Oh great. He's just as durable as me. His quirk controls the muscles in his body, so I've been attacking the head the whole time, because it has the least amount of muscles of the entire body. Guess those muscles are stronger too. Taking in a deep breath, Izuku gets up and starts charging at Muscular. His spider sense goes off immediately, forcing him to stop. His halted feet kick up some trash left on the tracks, just in time to dodge a swipe from his meaty fist. I just need one more good hit. That should be enough to knock him out. I just need a distraction. So, you say you're only in it for the fun, says Izuku as he begins his usual routine. He steps back a few inches before walking to Muscular's right. In his lenses, he checks the time. Of course. You think I'd be going around maiming people because someone hired me to? Yes I would. I can't wait for the train. I'm gonna have to do it the hard way. The vigilante takes out an object from behind him inside his belt, having it hidden in his hand. It seems about up your alley, a dumb muscle for someone I need to worry about. But the single sentence, Izuku manages to do something that he was never able to before. Muscular flinches. What? Spider-Man raises his arms in a shrug. I mean, it seems like a brilliant idea. Send the big tough stupid one out there to distract the heroes and police, while several more intellectual fellows accomplish a task elsewhere. No one will care what they did, because the moron's doing the most visible damage. Spidey comes out of his trance at the sound of crunching noises. The villain in his bloodthirsty haze angrily darts his eyes at him, clenching his left fist. You better take that back, or I'm going to rip out your intestines, shove you through them, and swing you around the block like skip rope. Alright. I'm sorry for calling you tough. That did it. Like a moron who lights a cigarette at a gas station, Muscular explodes forward with the full intent to crush the tiny spider like a boot on a roach. Feeling some amount of regret, Izuku internally shrinks at the menacing size of Muscular. He has to move, or else he'll be following up on that promise. Go. He jumps back, avoiding his mighty fist strong enough to puncture through the rail tracks, and lands atop the protective edge that prevents the trains from going over. Despite what happened just now, he knows he has to keep it up. No matter how much seeing that rage face makes him sweat. He's extremely scary up close, so I guess you don't like those insults. Should I mock your lack of perception? What's that? Oh, sorry. He quickly flinches. You know, the only reason you still breathe is because of that bitch's needle. Muscular rushes forth to swipe at him, another move that misses. Feigning more confident, Deku adds, and yet I'm still holding back. I want to be a hero, and it won't look good on my record to be blinding people on purpose. I mean, you already look like Willy. Confused, he asks, that last one didn't sound like an insult. From the Goonies. As if he understands that reference, Muscular swipes at him again, punching through the train guard. I'm going to enjoy killing you when the time comes. That was a weird way to say that. Why would he say when the time comes? All kidding aside, Izuku is worried. He's been hitting him this whole time, and he still stands tall and proud, as if that little drop of blood was a perfect emphasis on how weak he truly is against this type of opponent. Well, he hasn't exactly been hitting at 100% of his strength from start to finish. That last blow to the head was the strongest hit he managed to land. Most of his enemies go down after that. That's what he gets for fighting an A-class villain. Putting his mind back to the action, Izuku quickly swings his hand into a curve, releasing whatever he is holding. Out from his fingers flies a red shuriken, fashioned in the shape of a spider. The shuriken spins in the air in the muscleman's direction, aiming for his face. He stops immediately and turns his head to the left, narrowly avoiding getting pierced in the head. His eyes follow the pathway of the weapon as it soars in the air, before sticking into the side of a wall. You missed. That was your big plan, the villain gloats before turning his head to face the boy in front of him. Who's in the middle of a spin that gives him the momentum to clock Muscular in the same spot he kicked him before. Stumbling backward, Muscular clumsily turns to drop to a knee. This leaves him open to another opening for Izuku to abuse. Jumping in the air and firing two web lines on the track guards, our arachnid of a protagonist pulls himself forward, propping his feet down diagonally to kick Muscular in the back headfirst into the guard. The bulky villain busts through the other side with his head, damaging the wall of the guard and leaving himself hanging halfway off. Izuku lands back a few steps, taking a crouching position. He narrows his lenses as he studies Muscular's static self. Seeing he isn't moving, he gives out a sigh of relief. Phew, that was rough. Parts of the guard wall crumble seconds after his resting sigh. He then realizes that he's about to fall below. As he slides down and proceeds to open up the hole even more before he then falls to drop down into the pavement. Wait. Izuku jumps out, diving for the villain, firing webs to the bottom of the track above him, and then a second in the form of several strands to capture Muscular. Pulling with his right arm, he prevents Muscular from hitting the ground in his unprepared, weakened state. Together they slowly descend. Once they reach the streets, Izuku releases the line above him to land just in front of Muscular. Though as he gets up from his crouching position, our emerald-haired protagonist starts to realize what he just did. He has just done something he never thought he would ever have to do. He just saved a villain, a mass murderer who deserves to have fallen to his death. He didn't even think about it until he did it. His legs just moved on their own, once again. He doesn't regret it. You. Moving quickly, Izuku ducks down. An armored leg passes by over his head when he does, the owner landing in a skidding slide away from Izuku. Why? Why did you save him? He quickly stops himself before revealing his knowledge of Iida's name. But back to what's important. Manuel's intern, what are you doing? Iida removes his helmet and tosses it to the side, the background around them filled with people watching and filming everything. You could have let him fall. He deserves to have died. But you jumped and risked yourself to save his life. Why? Whoa, calm down. Spidey gets up, holding his hands out as he pleads to the intern. Of course, he doesn't see anything but red. Fumes explode out from his left leg exhausts, allowing him to spin in a whirlwind hurricane kick that Izuku forces himself to dodge, dropping down underneath the foot. Why? You could have just left him. No one would care if he died. While still underneath Iida, Izuku fires a web line to ensnare his right foot and then flips over him. This pulls him off balance and flips him twice in the air before slamming face forth into the ground hard enough that he lays there for a bit. Giving out a cough to dress his voice, Izuku bends his back down to stare down at Iida before saying, "You'll be fine. Now stay there while I web him up. If he wakes up, the boy promptly stops when his senses take off. He quickly turns around to see Muscular in full muscle armor, some hanging fibers flowing off him like hair. Go on. He'll what? Do this? Spider-Man quickly moves to push Iida out of the way. This rescue leaves him open to the meaty fist the villain throws that connects to his abs, where his kidney would rest. Flying, the spider vigilante coughs up as he smashes into a store, landing first onto a counter and then dropping and smashing atop some produce. Outside, Muscular cracks the stiff bones in his neck by pushing his head to the left with his hand. Oh shit. I guess I hit him too hard. He then glares over at Iida, who returns the dagger eye look with equal vigor. And who's this scrawny punk? I'm as tall as you are. He shouts back before standing up. You don't know who I am, but I know who you are the villain who attacked my brother. His response is a blank stare. You're gonna have to be a little more specific. You could not have forgotten. He screams, eyes no longer seeing color aside from red. You attacked my brother. He was just a hero who wanted to help others and has saved so many others. And the damage. His gloves tighten as he clenches in anger. The damage you did to his spine paralyzed him. He can't walk anymore. Ingenium was a great hero who inspired me so much and you took that away from him. That description catches Muscular's thoughts as he raises his head slightly and smiles in a laugh. Oh yeah, him. I think there was this one guy who looked like your costume who tried to stop my game. You're his brother, huh? You son of a. Not bothering to finish, Iida ignites his engines. Remember this, my name is Ingenium, the hero who will take you down. He goes flying forward at Muscular with a mighty kick, who blocks the attack by raising his meaty right arm and tanking the blow. Yup. Just like your brother. Holding his foot back, Muscular grins before pushing the teenager back with ease. He then charges forth to punch Iida, who dodges to the side avoiding his blow. The strike hits the road, breaking away the concrete, sending fissures across the road and breaking it apart. Cars coming by forcibly stop before they could fall in, one unsuccessful and landing halfway into a fissure, causing a few people to scream in terror. Some of the road's debris flies out, hitting Iida in the face, temporarily hindering his eyesight. A mighty fine grin spreads further across the muscular murderer's face as he charges forth towards Iida while still in mid-dodge, lazily kicking him in his hip, sending him flying. Ka. His blow sends the boy rolling over. Iida spins in the air, throwing his legs to the ground to recover. So weak, the whole lot of you. He bellows, throwing his head up while stretching his arm out. You're fast, but that's all you've got going for you. At that, the new Ingenium separates his feet and exhausts blue flames from his leg engine ports. I'll show you weak. He then shoots forward at a speed some can consider godly. Torque over recipro burst. In a flash he moves towards Muscular, who raises his arms blocking. The boost in power sends his arms upward, breaking his guard. He then spins upward, releasing a powerful kick to Muscular's abdomen, sending him flying upward off the ground. He then shoots up again, spinning into another whirlwind hurricane kick that strikes Muscular in the side of his stomach. The powerful blow sends Muscular flying back into the pavement as Iida lands with ease. His mufflers spurt out smoke, no longer able to produce the blue flames that sent him supersonic just 10 seconds ago. He lands on his feet, dropping down a knee, breathing in and out slowly. I got him. He looks down at Muscular, giving off a perplexed expression. Why is his body covered in muscles? The muscles around him give way, revealing Muscular perfectly fine if not topless. The villain rises, much to Iida's dismay. Those eyes formerly compassed with confusion now sport fear. What? Not bad. Maybe I can treat you the same way I can treat the insect. His teeth spread out in a toothy grin before he covers his entire body in his muscle fibers. That is when he charges at him. Iida twitches, unable to move. Before him is death. Look out. Spider-Man moves in, standing between Muscular and Iida. His arms cross together to block the punch, the same punch that could break through concrete. He cringes upon impact and is sent flying towards the speedster, shooting out an object at Muscular while he soars. He crashes into Iida, and the item reaches the villain, who sees it coming. What's this? Remembering the shuriken that distracted him, he swipes at it to backhand the item away. But upon contact, the item explodes. Out from its shell explodes the spider's webbing that encases him and strings that confine his arms together to his chest. What the hell? Groaning, Izuku picks himself up shakily. He glances down at Iida, asking if he's okay. He responds, what happened to you? I was busy, he replies, pointing over past Muscular. Out there, Iida spots spider webbing on certain cars with their doors ripped open. People can be seen fleeing the scene. Go and help them escape. No. You get out of here. I'll fight him. Don't be stupid. He shouts, placing a hand to his knees to keep up. Iida stands up to defiantly stare him in the eye. You don't stand a chance against him. I don't care if I don't. I'm not going to let him get away. Those people are still in danger. Now angered, Izuku points over to the civilians. You're a hero in training, right? Be responsible and think about them. It's what your brother would have done. You don't get to talk about my brother. A finger pokes his chest. What does a law-breaking vigilante know about responsibility? His gloved hand stretch out and grab the armored hero in training by the chest of his suit and hoist him up in the air. Ida. He screams, shutting him up. You want to be a hero? Act like one. Instead of prioritizing your wish for vengeance, protect them. He points over to the people he helped to run away. We can fight, they can't. They need heroes to protect them. And if you go around putting what you want over the needs of others, you're never gonna make your brother happy. He then throws him away to the waist side before twirling in the air by his feet. This allows him to easily dodge a punch that demolishes the ground where he stood, an action caused by Muscular's death-delivering punch. You done chatting? He asks with a gloating tone, glaring over at Izuku, who takes out a web capsule to try that trick again. But before he could utilize his tool, it gets knocked out of his hands and he's thrown to the ground by a powerful punch. Iida looks on in horror. Spider-Man. Muscular reaches over his chest, pulling off the webbing attached to him, leaving him clean and free of all of the white stuff. You had the advantage before, but that muscle shit she drugged me with finally wore off. Now I can play with you on Ibath unabated. What's this word? Unabated. His reply gets him a kick to the stomach, causing more pain to come out of his mask. Yeah, that. Thanks. Several extra kicks lift his body before a final one sends him tumbling along to land next to a fissure in the road. The vigilante groans out as his head and left arm hang down, staring over at the sound of approaching boots crunching into the streets. Come on, Izuku. Get up. He tries to move, only to drop down in failure. Those blows from Muscular at full power are far harder than the punches he's been tanking before. Seriously, he's gonna kill you. As he approaches Izuku, Iida moves in, standing just over the spider vigilante. No, get out of here. You said to act like a hero, so I will. He tells the spider, holding his arms out as he faces Muscular. Before long, the spider Naomu from earlier lands with a mighty thud right next to the Muscular villain. Izuku's focus returns to him as he stares at the two monsters, knowing they're screwed now. Oh good, you're here, says Muscular to the monster just in front of him. You're just in time to see me wipe the floor with him. I want him bad. He storms forth dressed in as much of his muscle fibers as before. He passes by the Naomu. And gets clawed in the chest by it. Stammering backward, Muscular looks down at his present wound. What the hell? The remaining civilians keep their cameras on the monster as it stands before Iida and Spider-Man, seemingly gesturing for them to leave. This infuriates the villain. Hey. I thought you were on my side. It wants us to escape. Iida turns to Spider-Man and lifts him over his shoulder before running away to where the heroes were. Unlike before where he would move in a flash, his pace is that of a lazy man's jog. Muscular runs over to chase them, stopped once again by the Naomu shooting out webs to capture his arm. You traitorous little, he pulls free of the webbing to charge at the Naomu, the two of them getting in a grip lock. I gotcha now. From the top of the rail tracks, Mirko comes down in descent before doing an aerial split kick to both Muscular and the Naomu's face, splitting them apart. The rabbit girl lands between them and jumps away to cover some distance. What's this? Conflicts between partners. I'm gonna rip your ears off. Shouts Muscular. No more games. I'm pissed. Just as the muscle man is about to make his move, it happens. A black liquid forms over his body. What the? Mirko watches as he's surrounded by the liquid, which slowly covers over his body. She soon realizes what's going on. He's running away. No, wait. I haven't had my fill yet. The liquid consumes the villain, leaving nothing behind but his boot imprints in the concrete. Mirko passes by as she tries to kick him out of his escape goo, missing of course. She skids along the ground after her failure, gnashing with rage associated with a pissed-off animal. Damn it. Though checking back, she notices the Naomu is still there, all eyes on the brown rabbit with its maw open in a roar. Yeah. Roar, roar. I'm blaming you. She raises her fists in her fighting style, hopping in her steps. Elsewhere as the two go to fight, Iida can be seen running off with the limp vigilante Spider-Man over his shoulder. He huffs as he keeps pumping his legs. I've lost my speed after using Recipro Burst. But it's only temporary, so I'll be able to run faster soon enough. While sprinting, he stops when he happens upon some of the interns who were working with the pros at that meeting last night. Among them are Kendo, Momo, and Jiru, all of whom look in shock at the sight of his damaged costume. But what gets the latter two girls is the sight of Spider-Man dangling over his shoulder. Oh my god, mutters Momo, the rich girl holding her hands to her mouth like something has gotten caught in it. Spider-Man. She quickly takes him off Iida's shoulder and lays him down on the pavement. Spider-Man, say something. Says the girl to him as she kneels before him. He gives out a groan, causing her to sigh relief. Thank goodness, says Earphone Jack, the purple-haired heroine in training, catching her mouth when she realizes she said that out loud. We'll have to take him to a hospital, says Kendo as she goes to him. The spider person rises slowly, painful onomatopoeias coming from out of his mouth. Eventually, words come out from his mouth. I'm fine. Momo quickly catches herself before she made a huge mistake. Spider-Man. Just lay back down. You've probably suffered some broken bones or internal bleeding or. I said it'll be fine. He pushes himself up to his feet. The vigilante wobbles though as he tries to keep on his feet. I just need some time to heal. He then points to a manhole cover over inside of an alleyway. You guys head back to those are his last words before he collapses forward. Giru quickly moves in to catch him, the purple heroine in training, turning a scarlet shade when she touches him. She manages to calm herself before saying, we can't take him to a hospital or else they'll reveal his identity. Is that important right now? Asks another intern. He could possibly die if he doesn't get medical attention. Sure, he'll reveal himself, but at least he'll live. Momo steps in, taking Izuku on her right shoulder. Jiru watches her classmate takes her crush to the manhole and lifts it open. Knowing exactly why she's doing this, she says nothing about it. The purple-haired girl does not even let the others move in to stop her class president. More likely than not, she knows something about Izuku that she's unaware of. I hope that healing factor rumor is true. Endeavor's coming. Shouts that same intern as she watches the blue hero of flames making a charge to the scene going towards the Naomu. Momo manages to finish lowering Izuku down into the sewers, using ropes and a strap made from her being, before coming over to the others. Please, just don't say anything. I'll come back for him later. Back to the action, Mirko jumps up onto the side of one of the pillars holding up the tracks up above and launches toward the 8-limbed monstrosity. She flips to make a downward kick. The beast raises its arms to block the foreseen attack. And has its arms ripped off and explode like water balloons. Not expecting such little resistance, Mirko falls to the ground and slides on the goo of its messy, liquefied arms. The trail takes her across the street a few feet away from the Naomu, its essence staining her white costume and furry animal parts. The wave of yellow splashes out mixing with the monster's essence, adding more to its gross appearance. Oh god, I couldn't hold it in at that. Endeavor finally reaches the scene and spots the two in this awkward situation. To his shock and disgust, the Naomu is oozing from the open limbs the dark-skinned rabbit damaged. The monster is also sporting a malice stare up at nothing. It opens its mouth as blood drips from its eyes before it drops down. Instead of a thud, a squishy splash can be heard when it lands. The Naomu slowly melts away as it lies there. The flame hero walks over to whatever remains of the monster, staring down at where its head used to be. All that's left now is its skeleton, like Stripes the gremlin. He asks, what the hell are these things? Up above, the white spider woman watches from underneath the tracks. She remains hanging attached to blue metal, staring intently at the remains of the Naomu. Elsewhere, through the lenses of the white spider's mask, two villains can be seen watching the events unfold on a monitor. One of them, the one with cyan hair, groans. Well, that was a loss. Why did it die? This Naomu and several others were created using that formula to grant spider powers. We used Spider-Man's DNA to stabilize them, since he's the only person who was bitten by the spiders and not only lived through it, but also gained powers from the venom. If even the successes are falling apart, then that only means we need more of his DNA. Damn it. Master's not gonna like this. Abandon them. The monitor shuts off. Chapter 21. The white spider woman lifts a manhole cover. As the police gather around the streets collecting information, she sneaks into the sewers. There in its murky depths, she finds him, Spider-Man, resting against its inner walls no more than a few feet from the ladder leading up to the surface. She crawls along the wall he's resting on, each movement made being a precision of patience, care, and silence. She reaches the boy and touches his mask at the opening on his neck. She lifts it just slightly, exposing his neck to her. Staring at the stains of his life on him that also drips out, the woman then lifts her mask up, exposing her mouth and chin of fair color skin. She then extends herself to him, canines growing with her tongue stretching. In tonight's news, we'll be covering more of the incident in central Tokyo, Kantway. A-list villain wanted for several accounts of murder and aggressive assault, the man who is known as Muscular has assaulted a student as well as several other people before being cornered by professional heroes. He then made his escape and fought Musatafu's vigilante Spider-Man. But what's more interesting is the inclusion of the villain alliance's Naomu. Though Muscular escaped, the Naomu have sported abilities similar if not identical with Spider-Man. There might be a connection between the two, someone Yoko from Daily News has mentioned before. Further. Shut that crap off. Momo quickly turns off the television, as per his request. She sits in a chair just at the foot of a hospital bed, where her tumultuous classmate Katsuki Bakugo lies resting. Back on the bed, his arms are held up resting on grips that puppet the fingers on his scarred hands. Well, scarred hand. The other is just balled up in wrappings. Unable to move, he simply stares up at the ceiling from the 45-degree angle his bed is arched, red veins visible in his eyes. Bakugo, you need to stay calm and rest. You just came out of surgery. His rage-filled eyes careen down at her. I'm just stating facts. The boy gives a slight pause before asking, where's Deku? Still out there hiding, she tells him, looking out the window to check the encroaching night. I'll have to go out and help him when no one else is around. Whatever, he closes his eyes. Get out. Huh? I said get out. I want to be alone right now. He shouts, his unpleasant tone dripping off the edge of his lips. Besides, don't you need to help that loser? Don't call Izuku a loser. She says back, delivering anger of her variety. Though with her pleasant voice, it loses its effect. I'm free to call him whatever I wish. And that's what karma is for. The irritated girl gets up to leave. Of course, he heard that. What you say, bitch? She stops, turning around to face him. What's that mean about karma? Are you saying I lost my hand because I deserve it? Yes, I am, she says, plain and clear for him. That is indubitably surprising on his part. What? Claiming her seat once more with her derriere, Momo speaks as straight arrow as possible. A few days before the sports festival, someone we know was paid a visit by someone Izuku knows as Jiruganretsu. A familiar name catches Bakugo's attention. Gigan. I haven't seen him since the entrance exams. He came in intending to steal a powerful item with help and was brought into custody after Izuku beat him. But I also got a glimpse of Izuku's past and how Gigan described you as no better than him. Now look. As someone who tells quirkless people he's bullied to jump off a building and pray for a better life. This comes out as a shout full of emotion, so hard that she stumps him. And now, someone I care about is trying so hard to save others because he feels guilty someone he liked died that he would be fine dying just to make it better. The loud pound causes the injured boy to flinch again. You are a toxic person, Bakugo. I have been patient trying to understand what he sees in you to want to value your opinion, and all you can say is that he's a loser. If he hadn't been lucky, he would have killed himself and I would have never met him. Momo then gets up from her seat. As far as I'm concerned, you deserve that hand. With that, she exits. The girl gone, Bakugo stares at his fingers. He wills himself. He wills his hand. He does everything in his power to make those fingers move. After seconds of trying, his left hand's index twitches just slightly. And he promptly cries out in pain, rare tears coming from her eyes. You want to be a hero so bad, then here's a suggestion. Take a swan dive off the roof and pray that you'll get a quirk in your next life. She's right. Late at night in Kantoi, Momo in her hero suit stalks across the streets as fast as she can. She nears the alleyway where Izuku was left. She carries a plastic bag full of items. Yeah, Momo. The new voice catches Creati by surprise, causing her to turn around to spot Jiru. Earphone Jack also has medicinal items with her and wears her hero clothes. Jiru? Why are you here? It's the only time I can go help Spider-Man. And I figured the hearing heroine pauses as a thought crosses her mind. Jiru? She turns red. Is Midoriya a Spider-Man? She knew this was coming. How did you know? I'll tell you later. Right now, we need to help him. At that, the rich girl gives a polite nod. With that, the two continue moving towards the specific alleyway. Upon opening the manhole cover, Momo descends below first. There in the depths, she finds the Spider-Man sitting on the wall, just as she left him. She rushes to his side quickly and lifts his body onto her shoulder. Spider-Man, she says in a normal tone. Noticing his content groan, she mutters, Izuku, it's me. Finally, words come out. Momo, thank you. His body tenses up before his feet find their way to the ground. Now on his own feet with her as support, Izuku and Momo climb up out of the sewers to the upper streets. There, Jiru awaits them with her back turned to the opening. She turns around to spot Izuku rising from the hole with Momo, the latter laying the former against a brick wall of the alleyway therein. Seeing him, Jiru quickly turns around to help him up. Are you okay? No, he replies. Well, I'm a little better now. But I could really use some rest at home. He stretches his arm out testing the damage and sighs. Don't worry, says the purple-haired girl as she goes to his side. We'll get you out of here and into regular clothes. Thanks. He raises his head looking around. Trouble. Come on. He's gotta be around here somewhere. The trio looks down the alleyway as they hear these words. Stepping into view are the owners of those voices, two male criminals dressed in loose-fitting clothes, one has a wife-beater with sweats and the other shirtless with jeans. The former has thick magenta hair with cylinder pieces at the end. The latter has scythe-like blades extending from the back of his wrists, curved up his fingers in a crescent. Well, looky here, the girls step back as the two criminals stare them down. Their eyes happen upon the busted spider resting on their shoulders. That vigilante's being cared for by a bunch of pretty ladies. The intel was right. Mr. Sither flexes his fingers as he prepares to make his move. Momo lays Izuku to the ground and stands in front of him protectively. The red shield is even brandished on her right arm. Jiru stands next to her extending her hands out, her earlobes connecting to the speaker-looking objects on her wrists. The two girls aim their sights at the two villains. This time, they'll protect them. "Step aside, babes," says Pinkhair, his threads rising to aim at them with red tips protruding from within. "Well, I wouldn't mind hanging out with a big-titted beauty like you, I got a job to do." "We can hang with them afterward," says his blade-wielding buddy. "Dibs on red." "You can't call dibs on a girl." "I just did." "Why do I get the reject? She looks like a teenage washboard." Jiru drops her head as her eyes become overshadowed by dark hatred. Scythe Hand extends his blades, getting ready to attack. Darkness passes by overhead, covering him and the girls. His eyes careen upward at the sight of the caster, and he feels like he should probably pray to whatever deity he can think of. The man steps back slowly, alerting the others. "Hey, what are you doing?" asks the one with pink hair. Realizing what he's staring at, he raises his head and gets a good look at what he sees. All of a sudden, he wishes he should have worn brown pants. The girls look to each other, surprised by their sudden reluctant expressions. The teen with purple hair widens her eyes before turning back, looking at what they're seeing. Creaty. What? Momo turns to face what they're all facing. As a result, she drops her shield. Standing at the edge of the building just behind them is a towering monster. At 7 feet tall with an elongated jaw showing sharp teeth coming from its maw, it is a creature black as midnight with exaggerated white pads that seem to be its eyes. It has claws extending out to an inch farther than usual. And getting a good look, one can tell it has big bow. "Bunchy balls," shouts Scythe Hands. What is that?" asks Momo when it finally hits what she's looking at. The monster's tongue stretches out to exaggerated levels, a vile green ooze dripping like drool from its fangs and protrusion, the latter of which flaps in the air like a snake. The white veins across its body can be seen merging into its chest. "I don't know what the hell that is, but let's just kill the guy and be done with this shit." Pink hair aims his threads at the girls and Spider-Man. The red protrusions fly out, taking the form of mini missiles. Before the girls could properly react, the black monster leaps down in front of them, landing in a crouch. Upon rising, its very own body then shoots out into tendrils and attached to the missiles. These weapons are drawn into the black beast's body, explosions going off seconds later inside of its body and causing the black stuff to fly off. The stuff reforms onto it just seconds later. Frightened, the two criminals step back, looking at the monster in front of them as it steps forth, unaffected by the explosions that went off inside of it. Passing by the girls, the monster squints its wide eyes into little lines and stretches its head inward. It then stretches it out, baring its fangs in a menacing roar. This sudden demented action causes the villains to scream before running away in a full-on sprint. The beast's left arm stretches out and grasps Scythe Hands, pulling him back to itself face to face. As it holds him inches off the ground, the monster says, "You two won't just run away, you will never put a hand on another person and instead try to make the most of your lives doing real honest work. Because if we see you again, then we will rip your brains straight from your skull and feast on it like a bag of popcorn. Got it?" With them gone, the black creature turns around to stare at the two females, who step back as it approaches. Opening its maw, it speaks in an echoing two-tone voice, "Sorry about that." Though confused by this politeness, Jiru remains standing, keeping her guard up. Momo, however, stops in place when she recognizes half of that voice. The beautiful rich girl opens her mouth slowly, shocked as she looks up to the monster. The dark skin of the creature's head slowly slides down, giving it the appearance of sludge instead of skin. With it peeled away, the human face underneath is revealed. It was you. The woman underneath is indeed someone she knows. Down below, Spider-Man recovers just enough to crane his head upward to see whose dark voice that was. His lenses widen just as far as the girl in red as he sees her face. Mom. Yes, the black creature is Izuku's mother, Inko Midoriya. She holds a finger up saying, "Shush," before grabbing hold of the girls. "We're taking you out of here." "But why? How are you? Since when could you do that?" "I'll explain later. Long story short, I have a parasite." Her skin shivers at her words. "Could you not right now?" "Mask." The extra skin reforms over her face to return her to the she demon they saw earlier. The woman releases black tendrils from her body to wrap around their bodies as she cradles Izuku in her arms. Al-Ayub. She then leaps up with a mighty push of her legs, launching herself and the collection of children in the air. Elsewhere. Deep inside a dark room, Shigaraki sits in front of a computer monitor. As the blue screen shines on his face and upper body, he scratches his throat with his crinkly, dried fingers and nails. A hand covers his face, masking his appearance. On the screen he watches the local news going off on the topic of Spider-Man and the villain alliance out in Cantway today, as well as their involvement with the A-class criminal Muscular. Like expected, that Silver Fox woman is in a picture-in-picture screen talking to several others. Well, yelling is more accurate. Well, mission accomplished is what I guess. This comes from the yellow lines behind him that act as eyes. Shigaraki turns around, glaring daggers at the Fogman. He snaps, how's this a victory? The plan was to have the Namu go out and show their spider abilities to the public at the same time as Muscular was fighting Spider-Man. That way, the world would see that we and Spider-Man are connected and public trust in him would dissolve. He then aims a misty finger to the screen. As far as I can tell, it seems like it's working. The villain mastermind unleashes a low growl from his clenched mouth, slamming a fist down onto his counter. Only half of the plan worked out. From deeper in the darkroom, the muscle man comes out wiping the right cheek. Oh yeah. He then throws it down in a fit of rage, his sole eye focused on the instigator of the villain alliance. Then maybe you can explain to me what your plan was, because I'm a little confused by the fact that those fucking things turned on me. The main plan was to have the public turn against Spider-Man and then bring him to our side. That way he'll have to abandon the vigilante gig and become one with us. Oh yeah? Well, that didn't happen at all. Shigaraki growls in his throat. I don't understand that either. The Namu are supposed to be subordinate to my commands, and they let him go. But that doesn't matter anymore. He then snaps his fingers. From up above descends the white spider woman from earlier. Hanging upside down from a web on the ceiling, she flips down onto her feet and fingers of the left hand before standing tall and removing her mask. Shigaraki then says, these new Namu were created using the same formula that made Spider-Man. It was supposed to be injected into a human being to grant them superhuman abilities far beyond that a quirk alone can give, but it didn't work as well. From the look on Muscular's face, he's kind of confused. Kurogiri then continues. Early test subjects died hours after the injection. So he used all kinds of filtered animals to test it on and mitigate the effects. Spiders were the only ones who lived from it. He then whips his hand and points all 5 fingers at her. So we extracted their venom to be used, but they ended up failing as well. So we put them on display at Astro Corporation. I have no idea how he was able to survive the venom, but the spider bit him and passed on the formula's essence into him, expressed in the form of spider abilities. Since something in his DNA resists the harmful effects, we've been using his blood to stabilize the venom. He still doesn't get it. Sighing, Kurogiri says, he's got magic blood. Oh. Muscular then turns to the girl. And, she's a Namu created with the same formula, but due to circumstances, she wasn't altered to have the massive size the others have and doesn't need it. But, her body will collapse just as well. We need more of Spider-Man's DNA to further stabilize the formula, which won't happen now that he got away. And Ghost Spider would have made a great addition too. Muscular glances at the cute girl, spotting her eyes twitching. A thought then occurs to him. Astro Corporation, what's that? Shigaraki turns back in his seat. That's not important. Just focus on the next job, recruiting. Tomorrow, you and Kurogiri will work with Jiren to find more members. Wait, what the hell are you gonna do? Nothing. I gotta go to school. Back to the plot. Still, under the night sky within Cantway, Inko lands atop a roof with a mighty thud. She places down both of the girls before laying her son down. The black mass on her body retreats inside of her pores, reverting the green mother to her human appearance. Izuku raises his mask just enough to show his face. Understandably, he has a lot of questions. Mom, what the hell is going on? What kind of parasite do you? He doesn't like to be called that. He's called a symbiote. Inko goes down to her knees holding a hand out to him. The black tendrils from inside of her extend out to attach to Izuku's suit. Just hold still and let him do the work. Wait, who is he? Shivers when he feels it. The symbiote is entering his pores and stretching throughout his body. He then cringes as its essence pushes the broken and moved parts of his body back into place. The ooze then retreats into her body. Whoa, it feels a little better now. What is going on? Asks Jiro as she goes to Izuku, checking his body for any damage. She darts eyes back and forth between Izuku and Inko, wondering what exactly is going on. Oh, nice to meet you, dearie. Inko turns to Jiro before making a bow. I'm Izuku's mother, Inko Midoriya. And what just saved you all was my symbiote. What's a symbiote? This comes from the purple-haired girl. Momo, also taking a seat next to Izuku, says, a symbiote is an organism that lives in partnership with another, so they both benefit. How does that apply here? She's trying to remain calm, but this is a situation she should be jumping on edge for. Aliens not only are confirmed to be real, but have contacted Izuku. So many crazy things are happening around him. Well, the darkness forms over Inko, taking the form of the monster from before. We also call ourselves the Clinter. We're an alien species from deep in the other recesses of the universe. We travel the stars from planet to planet, attaching to lifeforms too weak to survive on their own, and live inside them in exchange for living safely in whatever atmosphere they possess. Whoa, the girls say this in unison. Finally, breaking out of her stupor, Momo speaks up a storm. What exactly is Clinter like? How long have you been on Earth? Why are you an Izuku's mother? How come the world doesn't know you exist? Now the earphone jack girl speaks up. Yaoi Rozu, think about it, it's an alien. The government is always keeping quiet about stuff like that. It's kind of like Tokoyami's dark shadow, says Izuku as he thinks about the symbiote. It can enter any person's body and shape it to their will. That's how my body was fixed back into place, a thought then reaches him. How long has it been in his mother? Is that why his spider sense didn't react when it stretched to heal him? So many go-arounds for his senses are coming out of the woodwork. That's none of your concern. Besides, Inko re-emerges from the ooze, turning to the girls, you two need to return to being heroes. My little boy is coming home with me. Mom? No, Izuku, she says back, glaring at him so dark he stops in place. You're coming home. I don't care how many recommendations you still need, you're going to get some rest. You also promised never to come home with blood on you. Frozen at that, the green-haired spider sighs, realizing he's been scaring her. He hasn't really been considering her feelings with his actions after all, almost dying trying to save the people around him from a muscular serial killer. I'm sorry, Mom. It's okay. I'm not angry at you for doing the right thing. Put your mask on. She reforms the mask around her and stretches tendrils to fuse around Izuku. We're going home. Wait, hold up. Izuku puts a hand to his mask before turning his eyes to the girls as he's lifted in the air. Momo, Jiru, thank you for saving me out there. It's okay, Izuku, says the beautiful rich girl as she smiles to him. Her eyes sparkle as she talks to him. You're my friend, of course I would risk my life for you. And I'd like to talk more, but right now your mother needs you. We can talk later. It's no problem too, speaks Jiru, a massive red tint burning across her face. It's the least I can do for Spider-Man and you. But I am Spider-Man. Never forget that. I promise I'll make it up to you. The monstrous mother then takes a mighty leap as he finishes his farewells. She watches as his smile fades away and the hearing heroine's heart swoons once more. Midoriya, she mutters as she watches him leave. Momo turns over to her female friend. Now would be a good time. Jiru, can we talk a bit about, the purple-haired girl turns around to her more developed friend. Can we talk about that? What? She looks aside, rubbing her shoulders sheepishly. Her face grows a red tint to match her outfit. Please don't make me say it. She stands up, eyes still focused on anything else. She can't bear to look her in the eyes and say the truth. Is it? Jiru catches herself in her throat. She can't say it either. The more she goes over it in her mind, the more she can't bear to say it. She has to say something. Anything. Unfortunately, Jiru can't bring herself to mention it either. We'll talk later. Don't want to make Mirko have any other reason to make us work harder. She then heads to the stairs leading up to the roof and climbs down from the roof. Momo watches as earphone jack leaves, before following after down the steps. Sooner or later, she'll have to talk about their feelings for Izuku and whether or not she truly feels that strongly about that boy. It'd be a good time to get over her denial. Inside an apartment home, Kauta can be seen walking down the hall. Why? He can hear someone crying, calling out to him. Booze. He continues to walk slowly to the master bedroom where it is indeed coming from. Opening the door just slightly so as not to cause noise, the boy happens upon a scene he never expected to see. The entire room is ripped apart and torn by rage incarnate. Pillows are ripped to shreds with feathers having rained across the bed and room. The carpet has slash marks in the 4 claw scars. It's also present on the walls as well as on the glass window. There are also bumps in the walls like someone punched and kicked them. In this chaos is the black cat, sitting on the floor with only a hand keeping her up. Her costume holds the same claw marks on her body as caused by her bloodstained gloves. He also hears a liquid dripping on something hard, as well as her harsh voice whimpering out of her throat. "And Shino," he whispers. Black Cat turns around to face the person at her door, her face showing tears and snot coming out of her orifices. "Koda." She turns away from him, removing her wig. "Don't look at me. Please leave me alone." Frightened by her voice, he steps outside, closing the door. Once on the other side, the boy lays his back on the door. Seconds later, he hears the most pain-filled scream to ever fill a 5-year-old's eardrums. "Aunt Shino." Musatafu. Later that night, the black monstrosity that is Inko lands just on top of the apartment complex, her body landing with a heavy thud. With Izuku on her back held by tendrils, she climbs down to where their door is, and once on her feet, she reverts the symbiote inside of herself. Izuku remains on her, held by the remains of the symbiote not inside of her. She then opens the door and steps inside, her tendrils closing the door. The ooze places Izuku down on the couch. Finally free, the spider vigilante removes his mask while taking off the backpack the girls left him. Phew, I'm so glad to be able to take this off. His face finally free, his mother gets a full view of the damage left on him. The bruises left on her by Muscular are present, but aside from that and the blood on his face he's fine. Come to think of it, whenever he gets into big battles he always looks fine the next day. Well, with what the symbiote did to him earlier, hopefully, he heals from this just as fast. Mom, begins her son as he looks away with shame in his eyes, I'm sorry to make you worry. It's fine, she says, quickly interrupting him before he could begin. The green-haired mother takes a seat next to him as he corrects himself right up, cringing at the speed he does so. At least you kept your promise and didn't come home covered in your blood, by the way, you should shower. Tomorrow is Monday. Alright. He stutters. He then checks inside his bag to find his civilian clothes inside, as well as his wallet. Hopefully, a good night's sleep is all I need along with a shower. And again, this power the symbiote gives me is pretty convenient, she says as she checks her hand, the essence of the symbiote moving inside of her. Thinking about the symbiote, he has to say something. We should probably give him a name, or is it her? Minko cups her chin thinking about a name. That's not a bad idea. Izuku looks down at his bag, no longer focused on what's in front of him. With his help, I'd probably be able to defeat Muscular. Heck, with that power we'd be able to save a lot of people. A relationship where both organisms can benefit can work well. That's the thing though, the woman turns her head as half her face is covered by the symbiote. Our species isn't that noble anymore, and we're highly susceptible to being corrupted. Hell, I was freaking abandoned in space and had to ride a meteor of that ocelite stuff to survive entry. I had to hide inside of that metal rock for the years I've been on this planet to live until they put me in containment. Unlike them, I don't want to keep jumping from body to body. I want to live with someone forever, and that was granted when you happened upon me. Izuku looks to the side of his eye sockets before coming to an epiphany. The ocelite. You were that black puddle that fell on me. Thinking about it further, that would also explain that dream he had, that alien caused it. And I've been inside of your body ever since, until the day your mother spoke to that All Might fella and I moved to her body. But why, Mom? And why stay with me? Minko closes her eyes while coming to her response. He felt something that he never felt before when he was inside of your heart. What was that? She then opens her eyes to answer. Love. Such an answer surprises the spider teen. We do not share this feeling called love, nor do we understand. Familial love, platonic love, romantic love, obsessive love. I wanted to understand this feeling in depth, this wonderful feeling. The green-haired boy blinks looking at her. The symbiote got that from him. It wants to know love because of him. Though he's a little worried when it said obsessive, he understands that it wants to understand what it's like to be them. Maybe he could help the alien out. But something else about when it said corrupted worries him. Can the symbiote he needs a name for it be corrupted by his good and bad traits? Is that why it wants to know about love? Still, if it's capable of helping and healing others, he could ask the symbiote to lend a helping hand to those in trouble. Like him. But he'll have to see just how strong that healing power is. Are you going to take a bath? Oh right. Izuku gets up heading to the bathroom. Tell Kuri welcome to the family. Minko watches as her son leaves to clean himself up. She places a finger to her lips thinking about that name. Kuri, short for Clinter. Tomorrow. Out on his 2 feet walking to school, Izuku quickly heads inside of his high school building holding his backpack. Like usual, he is dressed in his school uniform with his traditional red sneakers, but unlike before he lacks the costume he'll switch out of. Mom is pretty insistent. As he enters the school, he breathes in and out heavily. The damage he suffered has not gone away overnight, not even his fight with Trapezius left an injury that he had to deal with the day after, and even that burn from the fire disappeared overnight. That may be a great reason why his mother took his suit. Man, they're trashing him. The Emerald protagonist hears this coming out of the mouth of someone by the locker. It's just a couple of his classmates looking on a tablet at a video. Everyone's against Spider-Man now that the VIS got their spider army. Izuku sighs and walks by, doing his best to ignore the next sentence. Shame. I kind of like him, but if he's in league with those villains then that's gonna be awesome. Once again it's another day. All he can do at this moment is push through because he still needs recommendations. Outside of the school, a red SUV stops just in front of the gates. The side door opens from the right as someone steps out, the cyan-haired sophomore Tenko Shimura. His crimson eyes bat at the gates as he steps out. Just another day. Wait. From the driver's seat, a man with slick black hair steps out. His khaki suit shines in the morning sun as he walks towards the teenager, holding out a collection of papers stapled together. Did you think I wouldn't find this? Did you go through my stuff? says the crimson-eyed teenager with disputed anger. He glares at the back of his test angrily as he storms in front of his old man. This is a major breach of trust. It's a father's job to pry in their child's life, especially when they hide stuff from them, he retorts with a ghastly scowl. He doesn't sound exactly glad. How disappointing, Tinko. What's disappointing? It's 79, a passing score. Unlike before, his voice is now as tame as a domesticated parrot. The paper lowers just slightly, showing the man's disappointed eyes. So that's enough for you? Just scrape by with the bare minimum. He tosses the papers back into her car, which flutters in the air and lands right outside by the tire. Your mother would be disappointed. Well, she's not here. In a swift motion, Shimura's face is swiftly pushed to the left. An imprint of a red mark forms on his face in a sear as the man draws his hand back, the back of it matching the indent. Dad. Don't you dare talk about her like that. Such disappointment in his voice can be expressed through the tone alone. Such bitterness. Such hatred. His old man then steps inside the car and drives away, leaving the boy off with a backhanded discipline on his face. Tenko holds the imprint, glaring at the bumper of the car as it disappears from his sight. Elsewhere on that Monday, out in a construction yard, one can hear screams of terror. Here one can find the two villains from late Sunday night on their hands and knees. The man with scythe hands cries out through groan screams as his partner in crime with the magenta hair is getting beaten within an inch of his life by a group of men. Their voices are barely drowned out by the sound of the wood chipper going off just next to them. The guy they were beating up is soon dragged across the ground and brought to the front of the machine. Please. Don't kill me. He screams desperately as they lift him, aiming his head to the opening of the wood chipper. Hold it. The men stop just there. They each turn to two distinct men looming over them in the shadows. The person who spoke raises his left hand, clenching it into claws and causing a chinking noise to go off. Now, are you going to tell us more about what we demand? Or do we need to fertilize this entire land? Wait. The guy with scythes on his hands raises them as he speaks. He spits out blood to continue. I know one of them. She was a girl from UA, I saw her at the sports festival. The partner in the dark leaps forward, landing just in front of him, crouching onto all fours. An appendage sticks out, sliding across his face. What was her name? Side story. That Sunday night, Izuku and Inko sit together eating dinner. As the spider picks up his noodles, he checks to see that the sauce the pasta is made of is of a certain sweetness. He looks at his mother, who is dining with great pleasure, and asks, why is there chocolate in the sauce? It's a new recipe I'm trying, says the woman as she dines more. Kuri likes it. But, it's the second time this month chocolate was being used for our meal. Allow me to explain. The symbiote rises on her face to speak. We Clinter have certain delicacies we gravitate towards, all chemicals produced by the organisms we live with. My favorite is phenylethylamine. Izuku tilts his head to the left. While disturbed by seeing that thing pop up on her face on occasion, he would rather focus on the more immediate thing on his mind. What does that have to do with chocolate? It can be found in grains, food made of cocoa beans, and plants high in protein. Chocolate is the highest amount. This is from Inko. He pounds his hand at the realization. So, you went out and bought all this at the store. Well. Flashback. Inko walks down the sidewalk heading into town. Alright. What will fill the palate today? And how about salmon and… Hey, lady. She stops when she hears someone calling out to her. There she spots two teenagers dressed in fancy suits carrying items. Hello there, ma'am. Could we interest you in something tasty and sweet? Like what? We got some chocolate for you, says the other one as he holds out a candy bar. She freezes up. Chocolate? Her eyes then narrow. Did you say chocolate? Yes, ma'am. The first guy holds up 2 bars. With or without nuts? Chocolate. The symbiote's essence sprouts from her pores around her and forms on her body. Chocolate. Run. The 2 kids run off as fast as they could. Chocolate. And for some reason, Inko gives chase while continuously screaming chocolate. Then flashback. I bought it from some entrepreneurs. That's it. She resumes eating. Chapter 22. Izuku steps outside of class with a boorish look in his face. While walking he bumps into someone, and due to his spider strength, the guy goes toppling over with his bag. Oh. I'm sorry. Yeesh, watch where you're going, says Shimura as he sits up, noticing all the books around him. Izuku bends down and to gather his stuff. Sorry, Shimura, he says as he grabs his notes and textbooks. I'm kind of distracted. How about a round of Tamura games to make up for it? Asks the cyan-haired boy before throwing the last book in his bag. Can't. I'm busy after school this week. He zips his bag up and turns over to the gate. See you tomorrow, and sorry again. The spider vigilante makes his way out of school grounds. Shimura watches as he leaves, pulling a hand from behind revealing a notebook. A menacing smile forms on his face. Oh no. Thank you Midoriya. But Izuku, he takes a bus ride home this time, being unable to web swing like usual. He continues to travel until reaching home. There he spots 2 extra pairs of shoes inside by his mother's. Recognizing one of the pairs, he smiles before throwing off his sneakers quickly to step into the living room. There he introduces himself. Mom. Oh, Izuku. Says the cheerful and Aliner mother. She can be seen with a circular tray in her right hand placing cups of tea he assumes onto coasters. The recipients are 2 women. The first is Mandalay wearing an outfit similar to the last one he saw her in. Her companion is a dark-skinned beauty sporting a confident smirk that outshines Mandalay's attractiveness. She has silver white hair with similar fur on the rabbit ears stretching high over her head. She wears tight blue jeans that extend above her ankles with a sunny yellow shirt that only reaches her elbows. Her burgundy bra straps are visible and she wears a lunar belt buckle colored gold and blue. The rabbit lady takes a sip of the tea she's given out of the All Might cup it's in and stares at the olive-haired cinnamon roll. Said cute boy freezes up when he realizes who she is. After her sip, she says, "Hello Izuku Midoriya." "Nice to see you again, Midoriya," says Mandalay as she glances at him from the corner of her eyes. She's not in a good mood. Calm down he hears in his head. This is good news. She then voices with her lips, "How are your recommendations?" "Well," begins the spider vigilante, "I have only 2. Kamui Woods and Best Jeanist." "Then that's why I'm here," says the rabbit woman after putting down her cup. "I'm Rumi Isagayama, Akamirko the rabbit heroine." He was right. I saw the videos of you fighting Muscular and what you did for Ingenium's brother and the rest of those people. Izuku sighs. This is the part where she claims that he's with the VI. And I was impressed. I had to hound this one to find out the relationship between you 2, Rumi points to the cat lady, causing Inko to narrow her eyes, and learned you're doing this apprenticeship deal with my alma mater. And, I want to give my blessing. He squeaks. This is completely unexpected. You support me? Well, why wouldn't I? She gets up and approaches him, reaching over to grab his shirt. His head turns into a tomato when she lifts it, exposing the amazing pecs and abs his body developed from the spider bite. She stretches a hand under to poke at his muscles, making his body go erect. Besides, look at this body. I could use a sparring partner, and if you succeed, a hungry grin spreads, I get to break you in. He's 15. Says Mandalay with a scowl. I'll be 16 in summer. Izuku replies, not understanding why he said that. No, you don't get to make this worse. That shuts him up. Oh, get your minds out of the gutter. I'm not superficial like Takeyama, and I'm not into younger men like you and Kayama. Her crimson eyes glare at Mandalay, almost challenging her. Ahem, Inko coughs into her fist to defuse this ticking time bomb. If you don't mind, I'm sure Izuku has some homework he needs to finish before he has to go find someone to give him the okay. Of course. Mandalay stands up and goes to her boots throwing on the footwear. I just came to let you know. She then turns to Izuku. Could you accompany us on our way out, Midoriya? Oh, sure, he says in agreement. As Mirko puts her shoes on, the 2 women step outside with the boy following. He closes the door behind them. Almost immediately after doing that, Mandalay stretches her arms around Izuku as she dives for him. The tomato impression returns when she tightens her hold. Me Miss Mandalay. Midoriya, I'm sorry, she cries, tears finally coming out of her eyes. I'm so sorry. She brings her head back to look him in the face, his uncomfortable state diminishing with her sullen expression. I was on a trip to hell. I expected the plan to fail and to die taking him down with me, but Muscular was about to kill me, and you saved me. You fought him and almost died for my sake. It's okay. No, it's not okay. She says to him, wiping her tears aside. I spent so long hunting him and came up short the moment he arrived. I feel so pathetic. Izuku lowers his eyelids at her words. After having read that article, she's adding more clarity to her feelings about what happened to her and Kauda. She then says, I'll have to make up for it someday. The former pussycat pats his shoulder and makes her leave, heading down the steps. Izuku watches her go and then turns his attention to the bunny girl left behind. This dark-skinned woman says, give me a call once you're in. I need someone tough to beat, and the earlobe intern I got lacks any meat on her bones. She then walks away. Now free, Izuku sighs before turning to his door and opening it. There, his mother holds a glass to where the door was. She corrects herself and stands as if she did nothing wrong. So, how did it go? Elsewhere. Hello there, Kitsuki Bakugo. Inside of a hospital bedroom, Bakugo lays on his back in bed. His arms remain hoisted in the air as the doctor and his assistants gather inside. His doctor comes forth speaking, and in response, he says, thanks for finally showing up. What kind of surgery is gonna fix my fucking fingers? The two nurses turn to the bug-eyed doctor, his mosquito nose unfurling as he walks towards the spiky-haired boy. I have some bad news. His brows narrow down as he squints. That is not how the saying goes. Don't you mean good news and bad news? A side glance later, he says, sure. The nurse goes first. Bakugo, your right hand and wrist have suffered far greater damage than your other one. So? That's what the surgery is for. He shouts back, ever the defiant one. We managed to reattach your hands, but the right one was crushed to a point beyond what we're capable of healing. We need to replace it with a prosthetic. The despair hits his face with a green metal bat. Back with Izuku, he finishes writing down the last equation for his homework. There. Finally done, he gets up stretching his arms up. His eyes spot the glowing orange light in the sky. Oops, almost time for the night. If I leave now, I can meet up with that person and make it back in time to wake up for tomorrow. He is referring to the person All Might recommended. As a recap, he got a call shortly before the stigma on Muscular began, and the symbol of peace relayed that two heroes could give him the recommendation he needs to finally enter the dual admission. Thankfully, with a lack of action all day, he's been able to recover fully from the bruises and injuries left on him from that A-class villain. Now he just needs to throw on his costume, which he can't seem to find. Mom, where's my hero suit? Hero suit? She asks from the other side, obviously feigning ignorance. Eyebrows lowering, Izuku sighs as he corrects himself. Alright, where's my vigilante suit? Oh. That's fake, he doesn't remember her playing with him. She must have picked it up from Kuri. I've yet to clean it. At that, Izuku steps out of his room, shirtless and all, and approaches his mother in the kitchen. With perplexity in his voice, he asks, why not? Well, I can't just throw it into the washer machine downstairs, come back and pick it up, she says, wiping off the counter of her kitchen sink as she does. Not only are you still keeping your identity a secret, but I also have to sew up the holes you made. Oh yeah. Of course. She winks at him, saying, aside from hand washing, I also have to use lemon to soak the blood out. Well, that's perfectly reasonable and something he can't argue against. The fact remains that he needs a suit to wear. The only other options are the first costume he got from Momo, which is torn apart from the burning building, and Trapezius, and his homemade suit, which is built from pieces he had collected, including from his mom's room. Izuku prepares to head for his bedroom until a black tendril shoots out from her hand and grabs his arm. He turns around at Kuri's essence. I have an idea. The symbiote stretches from Inko into her son's body, seeping through his pores. Well within his dermis, the oozing alien spreads throughout, flowing along with his bloodstream until stretched completely along with him. The darkness seeps up through his pores and extends across his skin. Eventually, Izuku is completely wrapped in black just like before when his mother puts on the mask, with a white line going across where his eyes would be. They slide open to reveal the same eyes. Izuku? Inko says, leaning in to touch her son's shoulder. It's honestly kind of spooky seeing her son look like this. Is that what people see when Kuri dresses around her? No wonder those criminals that tried to kill Izuku last night were frightened of her. Can you change it to look like a suit? I guess I can do this, says Kuri through the boy as its skin changes texture to resemble the fabric of Izuku's vigilante suit. The chest changes to show the appearance of a lime green spider with legs going up to his shoulders and down, stopping at where his boots would be. The lenses also change to become green. How's this? Thanks. He heads over to his bedroom window and opens it up. I'll be going out now, Mom, he shouts back before leaping out into the world. Okay. Promise me you'll be safe, says his mother as he leaves, knowing her persistent son didn't listen. Thinking about it, Inko realizes Izuku has made a bit of a change for the better. He's much more independent, he's happier, and with Akatsuki bullying him behind her back he's able to live more freely. If he does, no. When he does become a hero, all that will do wonders. That spark inside of him will do great things. Though as he leaves, Inko stops for a moment to go inside her son's bedroom. After opening the door and looking at the window, she sighs. Please be okay and stay the hero you are. Should you end up like your father? Her hands clench together with worry. Back to action, Izuku as Spider-Man can be seen swinging through the night skies. Using a pole he slingshots himself into the sky before diving with zero fear or hesitation. He gives an exhilarated shout as he swings between traffic, going in between a truck and the trailer it's pulling with great ease. He spins in the air and fires a line in the air, using his momentum to flip up on top of a train. Wow. That was incredible. Izuku looks at himself as the train takes him further. Kuri, this power you possess is amazing. All my abilities have greatly improved, I've never been able to jump or react that fast before. Just the power we can do, says Kuri in his mind. He pulls his phone out and checks the schedule. Alright, this should take me straight there, he says to himself before lying back on the metal roof. Sir Night Eye Agency, here I come. Over at Island, a man can be found inside of a laboratory hard at work. Dressed in a lab coat, he stares at a computer screen with black bags under his eyes. I can't believe this kind of complicated formula was inside of here, he says as he continues his study of a green spider dissected on a table to his 5 o'clock. It's supposed to be a formula for strengthening one's body to peak conditions, filtered with spider DNA, but the toxicity of this venom is far stronger than any of a regular spider's. He turns to a case with mice inside, all of which are lying on their backs deceased. It's too much for any creature to bear. It could kill any human injected within minutes. Why is Spider-Man able to resist it? Getting up from his desk, he heads over to a beaker containing less than a liter of a teal liquid on that same table. He looks it over. What is it about you that makes you so special? At that moment, the door flies open. Papa. In steps a bright and beautiful girl. Wearing a white shirt underneath a red vest as well as khaki pants over plaid socks and brown boots, she sports long blonde hair and aqua eyes, in addition to oval glasses that have a crimson frame. Her sudden arrival causes the older man to lose his grip. The beaker falls hitting the floor. She throws her hands up to her mouth. Oh, I'm sorry. She goes to the table grabbing throwaway gloves to protect her hands before taking a knee to help pick up the tainted shards. I didn't know you were still working. No, it's okay, he replies softly, sighing at what he's wrought. He bends down to assist in the cleanup. Thinking it over, he has been working all night on this project. It isn't a wonder that he lost focus for a moment or that his fingers couldn't stay tight with her surprising arrival. He'll have to help All Might in some other way. I came because the board wanted to ask you about The girl suddenly yelps out, releasing her hold on a shard she picked up. What's wrong? Nothing, it's fine, she replies, going back to work picking up the shards. Uh-oh. Back in Japan. With Izuku, he comes before a very special agency. Staring up, he reads the sign that says, Surngtae's Agency, and realizes he's in the right place. Izuku checks his phone and reads the texts left from All Might regarding this hero. He does know a bit of him, as he knows plenty of facts for a lot of other heroes, especially in regards to All Might. Sir Night-Eye used to be All Might's sidekick, having worked with him since his Japanese debut. After a bit of trial and tribulation, the two split apart, and now he runs his own hero office with sidekicks Bubble Girl and Centipeder. Thinking about it, it's probably no wonder All Might sounded nervous when giving him the okay to talk to him for a recommendation. Depending on how they split, there could be bad blood between them. But, regardless of their history, he needs the okay from him. The advice he received doesn't match what he knows of the hero. Everyone sees him as this serious businessman type of guy, the kind people label as a Japanese stereotype. Even he sees him like that. So learning that making him laugh is a great way to be accepted is just a shock to his expectations. Well, time to introduce myself. With a knock, he gets the attention of those inside the room. Enter. The door opens up and in steps the arachnid vigilante. He looks up to see the person who opened it, a tall man in a suit with a centipede for a head. Iwa. Izuku immediately geeks out at the appearance of this hero. It's the pro-hero Centipeder. Spider-Man, the insect hero, turns to the hallway, pointing out to a door at the farthest end. He's been expecting you. You'll find him behind that door. Thank you. With that, Izuku walks down the soft blue and red carpet looking around. As he expected from Sir Night-Eye, it's rather plain. How can such a person like humor so much? He'll probably find out as soon as he opens the door. Wahahaha. Please stop. Of course, not even his spider sense could have prepared him for the tickle hell he's witnessing with his eyes. Before him stands Sir Night-Eye, staring at his other sidekick Bubble Girl. She's chained to a device behind her labeled Tickle Hell, which has devices that rapidly swipe a feathery rope up and down her sides, tickling her so much her tears are coming out along with saliva. Izuku's reaction is as expected. What the hell? I know, right? The serious-looking businessman of a hero turns quickly, staring at the boy in black. A stare so intense he's never seen it in any of his enemies before. The machine turns off, allowing Bubble Girl to recover her breath slowly and come free. Come with me. Izuku follows after, tailing Sir Night-Eye outside of the room into the hallway. He then leads him into a different room, one more akin to the office just like the last one. Except without the BDSM torture device. So, you're Spider-Man, says the hero staring at Izuku. Though once the boy has removed his mask by having it slick back into the pores of his skin like his costume was living tissue. The boy has scrunched his face in a way that accurately mocks and portrays a version of All Might's muscular face. Keeping it up, he says in a perfect comparison to the original's voice, I am here. Silence. Sir Night-Eye stares in silence at the spider's fake All Might impression. How dare you mock his face? Eh? The adult stretches his arms forward and grabs hold of Izuku's face, making a slight adjustment, much to his dismay. Kashinori doesn't have this wrinkle right here. That's all he's complaining about. Izuku drops the face before he nervously says, hello, waving at the person. The adult looks aside with a sigh before holding a hand to his face. I can't believe his offer is extending to this person. What's wrong with me? He asks with all honesty. That's not for you to know. The adult goes to his desk and sits behind it facing the spider boy. As Izuku tries to conclude how else to impress him, his eyes scan around to get a good look at the room. It looks to be an office, filled with nothing but All Might's fantastic merchandise. Finding some common ground, Izuku starts to geek out. There are bookshelves with volumes filled to the brink about All Might. On the wall is a poster featuring him, and not just any poster, they're limited edition 10th anniversary exclusive items that aren't for sale anywhere. He knows because he has only one of them. There might be another way to impress him after all. Now please, enlighten me. How would I approving you not be an abject failure? The least he can do is impress him with his knowledge. Do you know about the vinegar suicide incident? Elsewhere? This is intriguing. Back with the villain alliance, a doctor can be seen standing over one of those turned seats. And it is the white spider from before lying face up, her arms bound by cuffs embedded into the chair. Her face exposed, the doctor examines her body. She was supposed to start breaking down, but her body is even healthier than before. Her brown round eyes look up at the man. Still, it's only delaying the effects. Maybe weakening it. What exactly did she do to overcome the poison? How about letting her roam free? Master? The doc turns to the voice. Letting her off on her own? Let her explore the city and scoop out what is causing her to live further than she originally did. Following his command, the doctor takes out a key and slowly unlocks the braces keeping her in place. Almost immediately, she springs to life jumping out of her chair. From her wrist she fires a web string to a table not far behind the doctor, snagging her mask, and pulls it up to her. She then performs the split landing on the chair, holding herself up with her toes. Free, Ghost Spider jumps up and web swings to the nearest exit. The doctor watches as she leaves, asking, is it a good idea to let her walk? It is. Back to action. Back in Sir Night-Eye's office, he and Spider-Man sit face to face at a table. The dark-haired professional keeps a stoic look as he stares down Izuku. I'm impressed with your knowledge, says Night-Eye as he continues looking at him. But that still hasn't changed my opinion. Sir. Don't interrupt, he says, interrupting Izuku in response. What you gain from my approval is clear. But what about me? What about society? Though he cannot see his face, he is clearly in the dark with his assumption. What do we heroes gain by allowing you, a vigilante, to become a hero? Why should we give you a chance? Well, I'm not done. Spidey erects himself, shutting up. A true hero's presence benefits others without fail. All Might represents what a true hero is supposed to be. A hero is a single good person whose power instills fear into villains and whose humor grants hope to civilians. That is why everyone accepted him. The adult then stands up from his seat, holding a black stamp. If you wish for my recommendation, you must earn it. So, I am giving you 3 minutes to make me laugh and or convince me you deserve to be a hero. If you can do that, then maybe I can accept you. You can talk now. You want me to make you laugh? Izuku sighs before looking away to think of what to do. Sir Night-Eye, I am not sure what I can do for humor. I mean, I already know I'm not funny. If anything, I can smile with confidence to make others not be afraid. Really? Sir Night-Eye narrows his eyes. And how do you expect to do that when you can't even show your face? That's true. How did you do that anyway? Huh? How did your mask come off on its own before? Sighing, Izuku responds as honestly as he could. I have something inside of me that can wrap around me as clothes. The pro keeps a good look at him before blinking. An alien symbiote, huh? That takes him by surprise. Huh? It seems you could convince another life form to live with you and your mother. But you still have to convince me. Must be his quirk. Izuku scrunches his face while thinking of an idea of how to impress Sir Night-Eye. From what he can tell, he's not just All Might's former sidekick, but also one of his biggest fans. I wear a mask because of my face. I'm not exactly the picture of grace under fire visually, and no one can exactly be at ease if I save them, neither will I have the upper hand if they can see my panicking face. The mask helps me get my emotions together in action. Sir Night-Eye cups his chin while thinking further on his words. Really? Then let's see how you perform. Perform? Sir Night-Eye gets up from the chair and faces Izuku. The adult takes out a stamp from his back pocket. He then steps away from his desk. You have 2 minutes. In those 2 minutes, you will try and retrieve this stamp of approval from me. But, you must do so without losing your composure and without wearing a mask. Well, that's harsh, he feels. But, it makes sense to have such a restriction. By default, he's faster and stronger than him, so this handicap is probably all he can do. Maybe there's something he can see that he doesn't know about. Sighing, Izuku makes a serious expression before getting up out of his seat and taking a knee. His quirk allows him to see the future, so he'll know how I lack no matter what I do. But. You just realized it, didn't you? Yes, I did. A confident smirk forms on his face. Seeing his grin, Sir Night-Eye lifts an eyebrow out of pure amusement. Oh. Seems you have a plan. Izuku camouflages himself as he jumps back. Just because I can't see you doesn't mean I haven't already seen your actions coming. Don't waste precious time. At that, Sir Night-Eye jumps in the air, dodging an invisible hand reaching out for the man's stamp-holding hand. Sadly, he misses his wrist just by a margin. But then, to the hero's surprise, the black mass around Izuku's hand extends and wraps around his arm. It holds him in place before Izuku reaches down with his other hand. I got it. The hero narrows his eyes, tossing the stamp in the air. His other hand reaches to grab hold of it, but then another event takes off. Izuku's lifted his body using Sir Night-Eye's arm and shoulder as ballast, where his spine bends just enough for his left leg to reach out and touch the stamp. Thanks to his spider cling, it remains in contact. Got it. And then they both fall. Landing face first on top of the grown man's chest, Izuku groans before pushing himself up off of the man. Sir Night-Eye sits up while Izuku holds a hand out to him, sheepish in appearance. Sorry about that. Not bad, speaks Sir Night-Eye before getting up on his own. He stares at the boy's face and then notes the stamp left in his hand. Well, congratulations Spider-Man. You've earned my recommendation. At that, Izuku jumps up happily throwing a fist in the air. But your humor still needs to be worked on. Do that, and I'll properly see you as a true hero. Understood, Sir Night-Eye. Izuku stands up and gives a bow before placing the stamp onto the table. He then dips and dives through the window to exit. Our spider vigilante purchases a train ride home, once again receiving plenty of stares and pictures from the other patrons. After getting off, he swings for his apartment turning invisible. He eventually lands on his apartment roof and climbs in through the window. Ready for bed. Ugh. This feels painful. What happened? Looking up, I see him standing above me. Muscular. Aim start. He lunges at me at high speed. And, I'm so slow. I can't jump away in time. I got to block. I do, but I still get knocked away. Why is he stronger? No, I'm just weaker. You're no fun. The man turns around and faces two others who have materialized before him in whatever void we're standing in. Spider-Man. Shouts two female voices in unison. Oh no, Momo and Jiru. Get out of here. You don't stand a chance against him. I think I'll play with you too. He storms forth toward the teenage girls, forming muscles around his arms. No. I can't move. I can't stop him. I'm powerless. Yes, you are. Who's that? I turn around quickly to face the person who just spoke. And it's Achako. Achako is bleeding from her chest, staring at me with dead eyes. This is all your fault. All. Your. Fault. Izuku immediately jumps up out of bed. He looks around at his surroundings, seeing that he's back in his room. Whatever that was, it was all a dream. He breathes a sigh of relief and lies back. When he does, he ends up splashing onto something. Huh? He checks back down, turning to see that he's lying in perspiration again. Why do bad dreams make me sweat a lot? He looks up and down in his peripheral waiting for a response. Considering how much he likes his mom, he probably went back to her. He stands up out of his bed and proceeds to clean up his sweaty mess before lying in his coverless bed. Our emerald protagonist lies there, eyes closed as he tries to go to sleep. He picks up his phone lying on the table next to him. 2:12, and I can't sleep. Getting up out of bed, he digs into his school bag. Well, might as well write in my hero notebook. He continues to search through and finds nothing. Wait, where's my book? He dumps the bag looking further, only to receive nothing from his desperation. Oh. I must have dropped it back when I bumped into Shimura Great. Sadly, that book was a collection with nothing left to take his mind off of things. He heads for the kitchen. There he finds to his surprise his mother watching a program on television. Hi, Mom. Oh, Izuku, says his mother out of concern. She notices his sweaty self and the bag starting to form under his eyes. Did you have a bad dream? Why yeah, he replies, looking aside with shame. I can't sleep, I keep sweating when I do, and no matter how much I lie there I can't seem to rest. Oh, honey. Inko gets up and walks to her son, taking his hand and leading him to the couch. I forgot how much you've been through. Together, the mother and son sit down next to one another while watching the night program. As they do, Inko holds onto him, patting his head. Of course, he's ready to say, Mom, you don't have to do that. I do. You're not a failure, Izuku, she tells him, holding her beloved son close. I'm here for you. The spider boy remains still held by his only family member left in his presence. As much as he wants to be alone, he wants to be here with her. More than likely, Kuri told her about his nightmares. No point trying to run when she wants to help. Thank you, Mom. Tomorrow. The following day afterward, our green-haired vigilante can be seen heading into his high school. While stepping in through the gate, the boy's cell phone rings. He checks his device quickly and checks to see a group text from Momo and Jiro. It reads, "Hey Izuku. I'm sorry I haven't been able to respond lately. I've been very busy at my internship." That's from Momo. Jiro says, translated for the non-millennial, Midoriya, please respond. He texts back, thanks for checking up on me. He sees that they got it and then comes to a certain thought. That leads to him texting, I still want to make it up to you two for helping me. If there's anything you want from me. Thinking about it, Izuku probably should have worded that better. While attempting to correct that mistake and flustering in the failure of what to properly write, Jiro makes her response. I wouldn't mind spending some time together if that's cool. Reading it causes the hair on his skin to stand tall. Momo makes her reply. I would like that too. How about the weekend after our internship ends? Sounds great. Jiro adds. Panicking, Izuku turns into a sloppy wet mess as he tries to formulate the right words to write down for them. There isn't much to contemplate when it comes to what they said. For his innocent, nerdy, irrational mind, he believes this is an invitation for a date. No. That's impossible. There is no way these girls would want to go out on a date with him individually, especially considering how jealous Momo got when Mount Lady kissed him. Plus, Jiro only likes Spider-Man. She can't see him, Izuku Midoriya, as anything special. Depending on how he replies, they can take this the wrong way and look at him with disgust. It's simple, all he has to do is not imply it's a date. He's hung out with Momo before he started feeling this way about her. Anything that doesn't state it's a date will be fine. Though as he checks his phone, he realizes the humongous mistake he made. He typed in cool, it's a date then, and sent it. Georgia, he wants to snap his neck right now. Why did I write that? Now they are gonna hate me. I'm such a scumbag. Concluding his haiku thought, he gets a reply. Both of them say. Great. We'll give details later. Now that will be unfortunately all for today's video, but do not worry, more will be coming soon for you to enjoy. Golden Fanfics out.